This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in.
What up, KOT family? It's your boy Phil Porto, aka Phil All Caps, aka Knicks Nightcap, and I am back with another episode of the Knicks Nightcap with my guys Apollo Reed and Mr. Al from Harlem. This is actually the first episode of the playoffs, and we got a lot to talk about so far. Playoffs have already been lit so far with the play-in tournament. Every single game has been worth watching. That 76ers game in the fourth quarter, that was a little bit basura. The Magic showed that they are not the team that we all thought that they could have been in the beginning of the season, but our New York Knicks get to relax for a few days. You got Mitchell Robinson out there being country as possible, talking about animals that have escaped him into the woods with his big old truck, and our guys are kind of just chilling, hopefully resting, making sure that they're fully healthy and prepared for this first round against the Atlanta Hawks. So that's one thing we want to talk about, is all that, last minute season play led to who are the Knicks going to play? Is it the Raptors? Is it the Is it the Raptors? Is it who are our other options? Is it the Raptors? I'll ask Alan Apollo, because it was the Raptors, the Hawks, and there was one other team. I think it was the Magic. And at the end of the day, it ended up being the Hawks, which is the one team that I was like, I'd rather it be the last of the three. But here we are. So without further ado, here are my guys, Mr. Apollo Reed and Mr. Al from Harlem.
Yo. What up? What's good, bro?
Chilling.
What up?
Apollo Reed been out in the sun all day working on that pool at the school. Hey, I'm a poet, bro. Pool at the school. But besides that, how you guys doing?
Great, man. Great. Ready to get into the playoffs, man, and ready to see how the Knicks do. We've been waiting all year. Like, everyone's been talking about the regular season and everything like that was bad. You'd be like, regular season doesn't matter. They're going to be judged on the playoffs. So now we are finally here. I've been waiting for it. Before we go any further, shout out to my man Homer from Knicks Twitter for making this sick playoff shirt. The funny thing about this shirt, is he got he don't got the Hawks on here. That's the funny thing.
That's fire.
So, yeah, man.
Homer Homer's working on some really dope stuff for Knicks Twitter and the Knicks fan community for these playoffs. So keep posted. We will be sharing what he and Tony, Mr. TONY, are working on right now. It's actually a song of all the hip hop lyricists from the New York Knicks community. Tony dropped a hook and sent a beat out to a bunch of people. It's an industry beat that you guys will recognize. But he was like, yo, if you can spit, if you got bars, lock in, send me your stuff, and let's see what we can do. And so myself and a few others, I think Apollo's working on his, we all sent in our verses, and they're going to compile this really, really dope song. Homer's going to put some graphics to it. It's going to be really dope, and we're going to be playing it all throughout the playoffs. So I told Tony, as soon as it drops, every episode, I'm going to play a different portion of the song so that each artist gets their shine. Each person in the Knicks community gets their, respect and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to it. If you guys can, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We would love for you guys to be part of what we're doing here at the KOT family. Share it. Doesn't hurt to support, but lock into the conversation. Open panel will be all throughout the episode tonight. We will be locked in with a really dope brand by the name of Pinhook, and so I'm excited to rock with them. But Apollo, let me know how your day was, bro.
Man, I wish I could forget about it, but it was hot as heck down here in Charlotte. So it was like 87 degrees today. So at my complex that I work at, Actually, we finally got the pool replastered. So it's very important that we, keep it clean and water and all of that extra stuff. So I was just in the sun all day with no shade in sight, just me and the
Man.
sun. You know what I mean? Like I needed a tan at all, but you know what I mean? We're here, man. It's summertime. So we got to get used to it.
Yeah. Al, besides work, how's life? How things going?
Things are going good. We're getting ready for a trip down to Miami this weekend for my cousin's baby shower. So kind of been looking forward to that all week. And I'm taking off Saturday. So tomorrow I'm chilling, and then Saturday morning gonna hit the road and then come back Sunday. So we got a first trip we're gonna take with baby girl. She's gonna be on the road for 4 hours. I don't know how she's gonna do, but we'll see. We're gonna get it done.
That's
Good
awesome.
luck, bro.
All right,
Good luck.
all right.
Thank you.
The real Am for free. Thank you so much for locking in with us. My guy, Die Pistons is in the building. I love when he's in the chat. It's always
I love his name. Die Pistons is hilarious.
Hilarious, always cracking me up, but also great takes at the same time.
Mhm.
So I'm excited, guys. I want to make a real quick announcement, and I'm going to make this announcement like 5 times throughout the day. So for those of you who have been watching since the start, obviously Al has not been here very long. But at the end of the day, we kept promoting Nick Life Crisis and his other show with his guy Ra. And it was good stuff, but I know from experience, which is why I ended up joining KOT, that at this age with children and with responsibilities and with a career, it's really hard to put on for your channel. Like there are people that, start channels in their late 20s, maybe even early 30s, but they don't have kids. They don't have a wife. They don't have responsibilities, and they can go live all the time, or they can post shorts every single day. As soon as the news hits, it's like, hey, did you hear that? I'm like, bro, like no, I haven't refreshed my page. I was trying to pay my bills. But yet they got content for days. So it's hard. Me and Apollo have talked about this nonstop. It is hard to be able to continue to build from the ground up. And so I was just thinking about it, and I was like, man, I know Al's got a passion for this. I know his tag team partner, he's got a passion for it, but it's hard. So I ended up hitting them up, and they are officially going to bring their Nick Life Crisis show to the KOT network. So over the 3 episodes, they will be doing it on both channels just to get out word to the few subscribers that they truly built that community over there. They're going to bring that over here so that they have the support of myself, Lee, Jay, Apollo, Ebony, and B, and Ryan and Fritz, because here we build each other up. So it's going to be really cool to be able to let them go live here at Nick Life Crisis and be able to share what they're doing as 40-year-old dads that just love the Knicks. So they will be joining this team over here. So it's cool. It's cool to see the Avengers of YouTube come together and just continue to build. So we thank you guys for supporting him. I know you went and subbed over there, but now you don't need to go 2 places. It's all going to be right here in the same kitchen. So I'm excited for that.
I'm super excited. I'm even more excited, bro. Just very appreciative, humbled, and just excited, man, because the KOT family is great, man. Just watching how you guys move, joining, the nightcap has been great, and like getting all the support that I get from everyone, just from being on the nightcap has been great. And I just think it's a good little conglomerate to like join, you know what I mean? And like start moving as a team. I kind of grew my team now. I have all of the KOT family now. Whereas like when it was just me and Ra, it just felt like me and Ra against the world, like trying to like grow something. So now it's like you have like a whole engine behind you, and it's just like a great feeling, man. So it's good to be recognized. Obviously, you put in a lot of hours into this stuff, so it feels great to be recognized. And again, just happy to be joining a great team, man. Everyone here is stand-up individuals, and just excited to get to work with them.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad, bro. Like me and Al, connected, and as soon as me and Apollo had him on the episode, we were just like, yeah, it just makes sense. Like, why
Bring
would
him
we?
back. Bring him
Yeah,
back.
why would we not? Like, let's just open that door, bring him in. And just seeing, like, the connection that, the rest of the squad has had with you. Lee is a big fan of yours. And Lee's not a big fan of everybody. I'll tell you that much. Like, Lee's got a hit list. If you ever seen, the movie Billy Madison, where he walks around with that little pad and he's like crossing it out, that one guy, that he's like, Adam calls him for the apology and he's like, right. That's Lee sometimes when it comes to Knicks Twitter.
Don't want to be on his bad side. No.
Yeah. So he's been a fan of yours. Speaking of Lee, I'm putting in the chat. He just came out with a really, really dope Substack, which is the definitive Knicks Hawks preview, where he breaks down what he thinks will happen in the series. If you guys have not watched it, the KOT team over the last week has been on the show Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday doing a breakdown of Mike Brown's series in Sacramento and what they've seen since that, the growth and what, could be takeaways of what not to do again in this series. And so one thing that when because when they have something like this, what I love about the KOT family is when someone has a thought like that, it makes you think on it. Like I wouldn't have really thought on that last series that, Mike Brown lost to. But when I started going through and thinking about it, and I was like, well, why did Mike Brown really get like his teeth kicked in that series?
Yeah.
And I started to think about it, and it was like, man, his Sacramento Kings, though they were good, they didn't really have any vet presence. They didn't really have any like real experienced playoff players. You're going up against a legacy team in the first round, like Steph Curry, like experience matters when you're going against legend status like that, like a player that's maybe played one round in the playoffs, not such a big deal. But when you're going up against like Mr. I've won this many championships and I changed the way, people shoot the ball, you got to have some kind of experience to go up against them. So that was one of the main things that I started thinking about. So shout out to Lee, shout out to Jay Ellis and the whole team for putting on that series. Shout out to Carbon Intellect in the building. Peace and abundance to Phil, Apollo, and Al. Shout out to you. Shout out to my big brother. He said, what up, peoples? What up, big bro? Appreciate you being here.
Shout out to Carbon.
So boys,
what up?
So since the last time we talked,
if you don't know what to expect from Mike Brown, my bad. Can you hear me?
No, yeah, go.
You're cutting up a little bit, Phil. You good?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, if you don't know what to expect from Mike Brown in the playoffs, this is a good series to go back and watch from KOT. They break down that one series, but like it gives you insight into like maybe the strings that Mike Brown might pull in the playoffs. Where were his shortcomings? Where you should look to see if what he's learned from his failures and his mistakes. So I just thought it was a great watch because I was going into the last week of the season thinking like, I don't know how much Mike Brown is keeping in his back pocket. I don't know what to expect from him in the playoffs. And watching those shows from KOT over the last 3 days have really helped me figure out like, okay, these are the things that I'm going to be looking for as we go into this series from Mike Brown specifically. So very well done. Extremely well done. Highly recommend you go watch it.
Yeah.
I got to go watch it. I got to go back and watch that.
Definitely worth watching. And one thing I love about the X and O's is of what they do here at KOT is like you have people that see the game a little bit differently in the whole panel. Some are a little more X's and O's, some are a little more eye test, some are a little blend of both, but each person puts in their thoughts and their comments, and because of that we all kind of grow off of each other, and it makes you think of things a little bit differently. Like for me, made me want to take this episode a little bit differently. Instead of just how we feel about things, I want to break down the actual stats of what we've seen against the Hawks, and what that could mean to the series moving forward. So we don't need to talk about the last few games, since last week, because, they happened. The Hornet game, no one really played. So that didn't really matter. But it was still good to see, some of our guys out there getting some burn. I really like that. I really like to see the guys that were on the court were putting in effort, and really cared about like, the results of it. And so that was exciting to see because we don't know who we're going to see called up, like when we need them. Like, at least knowing that those guys were willing to play that last game and put in the effort was really, really cool. But we did beat the Raptors. We did beat the Celtics. Obviously, Jaylen Brown wasn't there. But that was a good last 2 games to play before the playoffs. Kind of prepared us a little bit. So we won't go in too much detail, but what were your guys' thoughts on those 2 games that actually mattered? The Raptors game and the Celtics game. I'll have you go first, Apollo.
The Raptors game, of course, RJ, for some reason, he misses a lot of games versus us. It's kind of odd. I don't know if it's on purpose or anything. But that was a good game to see them continue to show how they're gonna play. What I'm starting to see a little bit more is a little bit more that 2-man pick and roll between Cat and Brunson, which I don't know why we haven't seen it up until now. That's the only thing that makes me think that Mike Brown might have something in his back pocket.
Yeah.
Because he's starting to pull things out at the end of the season that we didn't really see a lot of. So I don't know. I think that game was a good test for us to finish off the season strong, really, because that was really the last real game for us. I think he even put the Brunson back in with like 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left or something like that. And everybody was looking like, what is he doing? But that was I think what he was trying to do was like, tell these guys this is the last time you guys are going to be on the floor before we get into the playoffs versus other opponents. I think there was that kind of thing going on, because why else would he put him back in the game and they were up? I forgot how much they were up by at that point. But and then the other game versus, what did you say? There was the second game, the Hawks?
Boston game.
Celtics.
Oh, the Celtics. That game, like you had said in the chat, like if Jaylen Brown was there, I'm not sure we win that game. It was just how we were playing weird. I do think we adjust well, but I don't. I'm not gonna say that that's not a good team. You know what I mean? They're still coached well. There's, all of those guys come on. What was the guy on the bench?
Shireman,
Shireman. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Like he just turned it all the way up, and it's kind of like, sometimes it's always that one guy where we don't really know. It's like, yo, who's this guy? Where did he come from? But Shireman's he's been on fire recently. So I've been watching them play a little bit more just to understand what they got going on. But they're using Shireman a lot. So I think outside of that, because I guess they didn't really game plan for it. For him, I think it was a little bit of a struggle, but I'm glad that we were able to finish that game out strong. They did go on a little run before that, but I'm glad we got that victory.
Yeah. What about you, Al? What'd you think of those 2?
Well, the game that sticks out is the Celtics game, obviously, right? That was the big game. And that was the Josh Hart game, bro. Like, Josh Hart went crazy. And that's such an important development because, in the playoffs, they a lot of teams are going to try to play that Josh Hart defense. And if they're going to disrespect him, he needs to make them pay. And you could tell that the way the Celtics were guarding him, he felt disrespected, because when he made that last 3 at the end, he was saying something in the crowd that was like, yo, stop playing with me. Like, I was hyped. I was super hyped, man. And look, Josh Hart with 9 fingers shot 41% from 3 this season. It's incredible. I got to take my hat off to him, because I didn't think he had it in him. When the season started and I saw his finger, bro, I was like, no way we're doing this again. Like, I was already over it before the first game started. I was like, I'm over the Josh Hart experience right away, because if you remember the way he finished last year, man, just so tentative, so timid, so reluctant to shoot the 3. I remember last year I was begging him. I think I was at him. I was like, please just shoot the 3, bro. Like, just shoot it, man. I don't care. Like, you gotta at least shoot it.
Yep.
And this year, man, he turned it around. So hats off to him. That's really what stuck out to me. I think we match up pretty good with the Celtics. I didn't make a big deal out of it that Jaylen Brown didn't play. I think he does give us hell because we have a hard time guarding him. But you could see that Tatum isn't really all the way there yet. He had a really bad shooting night against us. And then Bayless Shireman. Why we always got these dudes that are like a 65 rating in 2K
Going
like
crazy.
play like they're a 90 rated 2K player against us? It's crazy, bro.
Weird.
That dude was going off. He almost won them the game, like for real.
Yeah.
So anyway, those were my takeaways on the Celtics game. And then the Toronto game, that was a back-to-back, right? I was honestly thinking that we might lose that game because we were so high from beating the Celtics to then turn around and play a Toronto team that we've owned. Yeah. I thought Toronto, it's really hard to beat a team like 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row in one season. And so I've just been waiting, and Toronto hasn't been playing bad ball. So I've just been waiting for Toronto to actually show up against us. And they didn't show up again in that game. I guess RJ Barrett was out, and so was Quickly. Mm-hmm. So that could be a big reason. But it was good also to see Cat go off in that game too, and Brunson go off. Those guys look like they're clicking and hitting their stride right in time for the playoffs where we're going to need them the most.
Yeah. So I'll start off with the Boston game, and something that you said that someone in the chat also agrees with me. As soon as you said, I didn't think too much about Jason Tatum not being there, all that came to my mind was Jaylen Brown not being there. The only thing that came up to my mind was Nate Dogg. Hold up. Wait,
hold on. The reason I say that is because it was going to be a hard game regardless. If you,
I know, but that is why it is such a big deal, because this is MVP candidate, top 3, top 4 for MVP this year. Okay, you even said it yourself. Jason Tatum had an off shooting night, and we beat them by 6. So a player that has been averaging almost 30 a night and Jaylen Brown wasn't there. Jason Tatum shot poorly, and yet we beat them by 6. That's concerning. That was a concerning game for me.
In the game where Josh Hart shot like he was Steph Curry.
Exactly. So we had one guy all of a sudden look like, the reincarnation of Klay Thompson, all of a sudden, like, with nine finger Klay. All right. And he's just knocking them down left and right. They don't have their best player this season. Like, that is a fact. Jason Tatum is not their best player this season. And yet we barely beat them with their second best player shooting like crap. So that is concerning going into the playoffs, because it shows how good the rest of their team actually is. Mm-hmm. It shows how good Pritchard is. It shows how good all these other guys can shoot and deliver, how Derek White can have an off, last few weeks, and then all of a sudden he's starting to feel it again come playoff time. Mm-hmm. And that's an issue, So for me, it was a little bit concerning. So shout out to the real Cam for free. He said, not a big deal that an MVP candidate didn't play. I agree. Shout out right here to my guy, Joel from AC. Appreciate you being here, bro. Carbon Intellect. He said, is Apollo taking shots of water this show? Apollo's got the samples, bro. Apollo's got the samples. We good. So shout out right there.
I wasn't drinking water last show, bro. I was drinking dark arts. Dark arts.
He was sipping something else that he had from previous. So shout out to him. All right. So that was my thoughts on that Boston game. Because it just shows they earned their spot, and here's the thing. Anyone who does not believe that Joe Mazzulla deserves coach of the year is completely out of their mind. Completely out of their mind. You lose your best player. You go into the offseason, you lose, or don't re-sign Porzingis. You don't re-sign some of your other main guys. And all of a sudden, this guy has his team still as the number 2 in the East. Like that dude, like seriously,
they were supposed to go the way of the Pacers, and they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone thought it was going to be another restart year, like it was like a gap year, like it was for the Pacers. But no, those guys all rose to the standard. And the scary thing is that Pritchard is playing way better than he was last year when he was sixth man of the year. You know, like those guys elevated themselves. So
and
shout out
also,
to them.
we mentioned the Pacers, and Halliburton was not the only person that's not there. Like they lost a couple other guys too, especially Miles Turner, who was a big part of what they had going on. So it changed the whole dynamic of how they play. So I mean, they're not going to be good losing their 2 best players. Really, Siakam is better than Miles Turner. But like 2 of their top 3 players, losing those guys, it's hard to recover from that. But you see, when they play against us, they play like it's a playoff game again. So
but let's go down the Celtics, because yes, they lost Miles Turner, but everyone else is still intact on that team. You have to look the Celtics.
Mathurin.
Yeah, whatever. Mathurin.
Yeah.
But you look at the Celtics, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, Torrey Craig, like all of those guys. Like all of those guys are gone. And then Tatum just came back. So that's 6 of your team from last, from last year. That's 6 guys. And most of those were starters. Your starters were Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis,
Al
Horford, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So
and is Shyman a rookie?
I think so. I don't know.
I don't know. But so you had 4 of your 5 starters gone for all the 4 of them gone for all 3 of them gone all season because they're not on the team, but 1 gone for 90% of the season. Like that junk's crazy to still be the number 2. So
that's Joe Mazzulla, man. Joe Mazzulla, bro.
Yep, Mazzulla killed it. So you just gotta be honest about what we got there. But I'm excited, guys. We're gonna take a break from this in a second after I talk about the Raptors, because we have Sean from Pinhook Whiskey in the back waiting to join us. And I'm excited because, man, these pours, these pours are absolutely delicious. And one of my favorite pours from last year was actually from Pinhook. So I did a top 10 of 2025, and their vertical series straight rye was easily one of the best pours that I had last year. So actually having Sean on the episode today is something that I'm really excited about. I'm excited to hear more about their story, confirm the things that I know about them, learn things that I don't know about them. So in about 3 minutes, I'll be bringing him up. Salute to everybody in the chat that's joining. 83 Williams, appreciate you being here. My guy Fritz, thank you so much for being in the chat. But last thing I'll talk about is those Raptors. I honestly hate that we played that game because it had me so excited to play the Raptors in the playoffs. Because after seeing that game, my thoughts were that we were going to play the Raptors. I really thought it was going to fall in line where we played the Raptors and we had a 4, maybe 5 gentleman sweep against the Raptors in the first round, and that we could take it easy and chill until the second round. And unfortunately, that did not happen. We still got that W. We still looked really, really good in that. Like Al said, those last few games were so promising, watching the Cat and JB, pick and pop scenarios. And honestly, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's been some interviews where they were asking Jalen Brunson about is it crazy that it's now starting to click? And Jalen's smirking with glasses on. He's like, yeah, it just came together, it's working. It makes me think that they knew it was going to work this whole time, but didn't want to continue showing their hand too far into the playoffs and show that this is something that is really going to cause some problems for defenses, because
that's risky, man. That's so risky.
It is, but you ask him and Cat. They asked him and Cat. If you look back, and both of those guys kind of had it started working and it just seemed like there's something a little fishy there. You know, like all of a sudden, 3 games before the playoffs, you guys buy into
whole time they've been practicing it the whole
Right.
year. Like
The Cat and Brunson pick and roll was a dead giveaway. I'm like, all right, come on, what's going on here?
like we've been demanding it since like last year to see it move like this.
Yeah.
It's
Come
not
on.
the same pick and pop that it was before because now all the players are moving, and even on pick and pops, they're finding either themselves, you know, each other, or somebody in the corner or someone cutting. It's just leaps and bounds different. So I'm just like, there's no way all 5 of y'all started figuring this out in the last 4 games. That's just crazy to me. But maybe it's conspiracy. Let me know what y'all think in the chat. I'm going to be posting the link to the open panel as soon as we're done talking with Sean. Anyone that wants to come up and talk their talk about the playoff series, you guys are welcome. But without further ado, I want to bring up Sean because I want to talk about this brand. And if you guys don't know about Pinhook, please check them out. I'm posting their Instagram right now in the chat. From there, you can click their website, you can purchase bottles, and trust me, after we talk about these bottles, you're going to want to purchase some of these. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Sean from Pinhook.
All right. What's up, y'all?
How you doing, Sean?
What's up, Sean?
How are you?
How's your day going, man?
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I just had some gumbo. I live in New Orleans, so.
All right.
I'm
Show
jealous.
off.
Love
Show
gumbo.
off.
Yeah,
That's
seriously.
fine. That's fine.
I won't say I'm born and raised in Massachusetts either. So.
Oh, gosh, bro.
I was gonna tell you guys.
As long as you're not a
I was gonna-
Celtics fan.
As long as you're not a Celtic fan. Is he a Celtic? Are you?
Follow
A
the
Celtic?
Of course he
Celtics?
is.
Are you a Celtic fan?
Listen, if someone was born and raised in Massachusetts
Yeah,
just
of
because they
course.
moved to New Orleans and they said that they were now a Pelicans fan, you wouldn't even
That's
trust
crazy. Word.
Right, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it.
So I went to college in Boston. I was just about to tell you guys this. So all of my friends are literally Boston Celtics fans,
Yeah.
Red Sox fans, Pats fans, and I'm a Jet fan. So like, man, I hear it from these guys 24/7 all year round. So it's a
So you have to
love-hate
understand-
relationship.
You have to understand too. I know we'll get into the bourbon, but I'm 52, right?
Mhm.
So growing up, like Bird, Parrish, McHale,
Mm.
Ainge, right? Dennis John. Like I grew up in that.
You gotta
Yeah.
be.
True
That was awesome, right
heyday.
there.
It was like a pretty amazing time. So
All right, so we went from this being just a regular episode to now having to classify what it really is. All right, everybody? All right, here it is.
Let's do it.
All right. This has now officially become
Enemy
an enemy territory episode. All right. We actually
Oh,
have
The news coming.
enemy territory. So this is what I have to say real quick. All right, let's listen quite closely.
Right? I cannot listen to any of your instructions, for you are my sworn enemy and are about to meet your demise.
So Sean, I liked you. I don't know if I like you anymore, but we're still gonna have this interview. So, I know you were a fan from the get-go, and obviously, like, there's reason to be, you know, a fan during that time. You know, Bird is obviously one of the greatest to ever shoot a basketball. And, you know, people that hear about Bird but never watched Bird, you know, they think that he's just this 3-point shooter. Like, oh, he was the 3-point shooter before he was the 3-point shooter. Like, no, he was the I can shoot from anywhere and I will fight anyone. Like, this
100%.
guy did not back down from anything. He was one of the most raw basketball players.
Smack too.
Exactly. Like crazy.
Anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to you for that. That was a great era. Do you still follow the team?
I mean, you guys are obviously on another level. I'm probably like a not just fair weather. Like I read about basketball, but I don't watch a ton of games.
Okay.
But definitely once the playoffs start,
I was
then
gonna say you gotta lock in the playoffs.
Then I lock in and I watch everything.
Well,
But of
I
course,
will tell you, you have a lot to be excited about. Like your guys' team has been superb this year. As much as I hate those words coming out of my mouth, it's hard to watch a team that has overcome so much adversity this year still be one of the best to do it. So you're going to enjoy the play.
And I watch more this year because of that, just the curiosity of how's it all going to shake out. And then I think I mean, you guys were talking about all the points, but the whole drama that existed with Jaylen Brown and Tatum playing together, and everyone's sort of trying to pit them against, oh, who's the A1 player, like all that stuff. Then to take Tatum out of the mix, Jaylen Brown gets to step up, has this MVP caliber season, and then everyone's like, well, and even Tatum is saying, oh, I'm worried about how I come back. How do I integrate into the team? And then for it to like, all things being equal, be pretty seamless.
Yeah.
And it just shows a level of maturity. And you said it too, the coaching, right? Mazzulla is like, clearly he's got some sort of magic touch as a coach. He's the real deal.
And you know what's crazy is the big question was, and I don't know if a lot of number ones in the NBA would have the humility to come back and be okay being a number two. Like Jason Tatum has worn this honorably, like straight up. Like, he has been so supportive of his teammate. He's always looking for Jaylen Brown. He's willing to play, the background on certain plays when he knows that Jaylen's the one that's got it this year. So it's hard to, give flowers, but they kind of deserve it for what they've overcome. I still want to kick their teeth in the playoffs. But, it is what it is. So let's talk about what we do have in common. All right.
Yeah.
Which is whiskey. So Pinhook, as far as I know, you guys produce primarily at the Castle and Key distillery, right? The old AH distillery.
Yep.
Okay? So that's in Frankfurt. And I know that you guys sourced previously, but are mostly distilling now. Do you guys still source at all?
So we'll do sourcing we have an annual collaboration series.
Okay. Yep.
So we bought a small number of barrels from Wyoming whiskey and Kirby. Okay. So we had done a blend of 10 and 11-year-old barrels. We bought them from them when they were 4 or 5 years old, aged them up for a long time. We did that. Still Austin is my favorite Texas distillery.
Yep.
So I was able to convince them to sell me 25 barrels of Still Austin. Nice. So we did a collab. That was our second collab, was a blend of Still Austin. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, we did a collab. We bought barrels, actually Australian single malt from Melbourne. So we're still out there. So, I mean, just to set the table too, as it ties into sports too, right? In thoroughbred horse racing, a pinhook is when you buy a baby thoroughbred based on its lineage to try to sell it for a profit when it's mature. Like you're just flipping a horse, hopefully money. And that basically that's a hedge against, you're also racing. Racing is incredibly expensive and a lot of the horses don't perform well. So that's how you can win a lot of money if a racehorse obviously is, Triple Crown type of horse.
Yeah.
But it can also suck a lot of the money. So the breeding and the pinhooking are kind of the hedges against the racing. The racing is obviously the fun and exciting part. But going back to the idea of sourcing, and that's actually a really important topic, is when I founded Pinhook in 2010, really there's so many people, but no one was transparent about it.
Yeah.
And I always found the lack of transparency to be frustrating. Yeah. And so one of the goals of Pinhook, even before it had the name Pinhook, was to say, we want to be 100% transparent about everything we do, because I fell asleep in science class. Like I have no interest in chemistry or being a distiller. So one of my friends who's a partner in the company, this guy, Jamie Hill, he grew up in thoroughbred horse racing. And so he actually pinhooks for a living. Like it's not just like a fanciful term. Nice. Like that's his job. Like he pinhooks. So he was explaining what pinhooking was. And we connected the idea that we're pinhooking bourbon because we buy baby bourbon based on its lineage and then we mature it. So we wanted to build transparency into the name.
I love that.
That's awesome.
We're not distillers. We don't want to be distillers. We pinhook bourbon. We find young barrels that we think have promise and potential to grow into something great. And that's what we do. And so tied to that, we have to give Jamie a little more credit. So Jamie's dad was a vet at the track, and he got good at picking horses. Like even though he was there to be a vet, he got good at identifying young thoroughbreds that, had the potential to be great horses. His dad, Jamie's dad, and another guy go in on a horse 50-50 for $17,500. That's Seattle Slew, who wins the Triple Crown in 1977.
Wow.
What?
So that's the world that he so we're hanging out with him. I know nothing about, we're just like, hey, we want to be in Kentucky. We bought these barrels in Indiana. we can't visit those barrels in Indiana because at the time you couldn't even get into MGP. So, and of course, Kentucky, to me, is still, yes, you can make great bourbon anywhere in America, but Kentucky is kind of the epicenter.
Yeah.
That's where we wanted to hang out and really find inspiration for what we wanted to do. And so we bought 20 barrels of MGP for $465 a barrel. It was very cheap back then. So we started Pinhook for $9,000, ship our barrels, and we start hanging out with Jamie, and we're learning about pinhooking, and we're spending time at Keeneland, which is the beautiful racetrack in Lexington. Like, we're just learning all this stuff, and we're seeing all these cool parallels, the pinhooking side of it, but also my background's in wine. So I worked in restaurants in New York. I became a sommelier. I worked at Per Se in New York, you know, did the super high end type of stuff. And so when I got into bourbon, I saw bourbon as this amazing value compared to these very expensive wines, which sometimes don't deliver.
Yeah.
And when I started getting really into bourbon, and then I opened 2 restaurants in New York, one in Brooklyn in Cobble Hill and one in Manhattan on 26 between Broadway and 6, both centered around American whiskey. And then I kind of got that, you know, now I want to get my hands on the barrels and understand more about it and see if I can do something cool. And the thing that made the most sense to me, because I came from wine, is most bourbon is made as a homogeneous flavor profile, right?
Okay.
It's like if you buy Maker's Mark, it's always supposed to taste like Maker's. I'd say what's invisible to the average bourbon drinker is how different one barrel tastes from the next, because it's organic material. You can only make 2 barrels from one tree. No 2 trees are exactly the same. So you've got this spirit and all these chemical reactions happening as the spirit interacts with the wood. Alcohol's evaporating, water's evaporating from the barrel, oxygen's getting into the barrel. And so each barrel actually can really have quite different characteristics from one barrel to the next, even when the exact same whiskey went into it. What the big guys do incredibly well is they hide the variability by finding a way to blend in the right combination so that each batch gives the appearance of being the same. But each batch is different because each batch came from a different set of barrels. Wine is all about vintage and the idea that the grapes grow a certain way in a given year. And because of the way the fruit grows, because of the uniqueness of weather in any given year, you produce a vintage. A vintage is a unique expression of wine because of the year, right? And so I came up with this idea, why can't we make vintages of bourbon? So why can't we take our mature barrels and just say, let's take the mature barrels we have now, and instead of trying to figure out how to make them taste like a specific flavor profile, let's just make the best whiskey we can and let each whiskey stand alone as a vintage. So if you look at all of our bottles, they have a vintage on them, which is the year that they were blended and bottled. And the last thing I'll say too, because I imagine there'll be some questions, but Jamie also has a racing stable called Bourbon Lane Stable, and he names almost every horse in the stable with bourbon or rye in the name of the horse. So we came to Jamie with this idea as a way of celebrating each vintage. We said, Jamie, what if every year you pick a 2-year-old horse that you think has the best chance of running in the Kentucky Derby as a 3-year-old, and that's the horse for the vintage. So not only is every year a different tasting liquid, is only every year a different a different horse on the label and different vintage date, different geometric pattern, which is inspired by Jockey Silk. So really trying to take the idea of vintage and seeing all the cool ways in which, thoroughbred horse racing and bourbon kind of intersect and putting it all together in a unique way. So in fact, the horse, Jamie just texted me earlier today, the 2026 bourbon horse is a horse named Bourbon Betty, and Bourbon Betty just won a race today. So the whole thing is like, this is experiential. Like you could go you could look up, hey, when's Bourbon Betty running the next race? Put a bet on the horse. So it really ties all these great experiences having it.
I love that. And I love the slogan on the back, the best, not the same whiskey every year.
Exactly.
I love that. So you had said the restaurants in New York. What were the name of the restaurants?
So the restaurant I opened in Brooklyn was called Char Number 4.
Okay.
I opened that in 2008. And then I had a spot called Maysville, which I opened in 2012 on 26 between Broadway and 6. But they were full service restaurants too. I had a chef at Maysville who'd been at Gramercy Tavern. My chef at Char Number 4 had worked for Daniel Boulud, at some of his restaurants. And Char Number 4, this is actually I always say to people, it was a sign of the times. But GQ named my restaurant one of the 3 best places to drink bourbon in America. But I always like to say there were only 5 places to drink bourbon in America at the time, which is true though. we were the first American whiskey bar and restaurant outside of Kentucky. Like now you can go to any city and there's going to be some, big bourbon,
Right.
back bar, that whole type of thing. But 2008, Pappy Van Winkle was gathering dust on the shelves. Like you could go into any liquor store and get Pappy. So all the sort of bourbon craze really didn't start till like 2012, 2013.
That's awesome.
So
That's
it's been a fun journey.
I love it. I love it. So let's start off with the straight rye. If you want to give a little breakdown of this release, because I know each release is different. So like age or any of that stuff. And then we'll break it. You've
got which one? I can't quite see it.
We have 2025.
You got 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2025. So every year, every vintage, the green wax, which is our flagship rye, is the same mash bill that's custom made for us at Castle and Key. So it's just to be clear too, sourcing is when you buy something that someone already made and you're just grabbing extra. Contract distillation is when we started with Castle and Key, I got to work with their distilling team and say, I picked the mash bill, I picked the yeast, I picked the barrel entry proof, I picked the char level of the barrel. So you have a little bit more say. You still don't know anything about how to actually distill, but you have a little more control. This is a very unique rye in that it's, in terms of the mash bill, it's 60 rye, 20 barley, and 20 corn. You almost never see 20% barley.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive grain. And I just really like it. I think it adds a lot of complexity. It has great texture. It has a kind of nutty, savory quality to it that I think helps kind of balance out the herbal spice notes of rye. This is 99 proof. And just keep in mind too, for us, this is our entry point. Yeah. It's really meant to be, good for a cocktail, pour it on the rocks, splash of soda, ginger ale, whatever you want. This is the everyday, and would probably retail, depends where you are, but between $36, $38 on the shelf.
Okay.
But you're getting and what you should get out of it, I don't have a glass in front of me, but I've certainly smelled it enough times. Everyone says rye is spicy. I really think rye is more about the herbal notes, kind of something green, something minty, something sometimes almost grassy, but an herbaceousness. A lot of times you associate anise or licorice as well as a common aroma and flavor with rye. And I think the whole spice thing is a little bit misrepresented, which is to say bourbon typically will have a lot of cinnamon notes or maybe nutmeg notes. Those are spices. Yeah. And so when people say rye is spicy, I think it's just rye tends to get more black pepper and clove. Yeah. And I think black pepper and clove just are a little bit of a spicier spice, but they're all spices. So I don't think of rye. Like I said, I think of the herbal side of rye more than than it being spicy. Yeah.
And I agree. A lot of times people think spicy, they think like you would spicy food. And I'm like, no. That's not what we're talking about here. Like spice. And that's why I think like it's a poor term, when it comes to what you talk about. You should be able to say it has spice notes, and these spice notes. But spicy, I feel like should be thrown out of the whiskey vocabulary because I've never tasted a whiskey unless there's habaneros in it that has been spicy.
Exactly.
So on this one, on the nose, there's a lot of sweetness, and
that's the other thing, the irony, and that's, I think, the other great irony is I actually would say rye, especially younger rye, this would be around 4 years old. Some barrels that are 3, so you can't label it as a 4-year age statement, but mostly 4 years old. If you're gonna smell and taste a younger rye versus a younger bourbon, it's actually the rye that's gonna hit you as sweeter. The corn, like there's something about corn, or bourbon and corn, it kind of hits as a little more astringent and sharper when it's young. And then bourbon seems to need more time in the barrel to kind of showcase the sweetness of corn. So that's one of the great advantages of rye. I think even a 2-year-old rye can be really approachable and quite nice and have a lot of that sweet herbal character and floral. Sometimes, I don't know if you get any floral notes on that, but I think, people overthink it. I look for the big buckets, right? The big buckets would be, am I getting some sort of spice? Am I getting some sort of fruit? Am I getting something maybe herbal?
Yep.
Am I getting the presence of, it's really the wood sugar, which could be a butterscotch, a caramel, a toffee, call it whatever you want, brown sugar. It just depends on the age and what it is. Am I getting something, the earthiness could go to the sort of leather, tobacco realm, or with something like this rye, it could again go more towards minty. Older rye can almost be a little bit eucalyptusy. And I don't really worry too much about which one of those things you're getting, but I think it is a great place to start when you're smelling and tasting, is just kind of like, do I smell any fruit? And if you don't, that's fine. Am I getting any spice? Am I getting any wood sugar or a sweet note, wood sugar note? And just kind of, it helps you, I think, kind of just anchor the experience. You don't have to make it difficult or feel bad if you don't get certain things, but I think you enjoy it more the more you start to be able to pull things out of the.
And that's a great point. Like a lot of people, when they're watching my Instagram and I'm giving tasting notes, they're like, how do you get this? Like I've been drinking bourbon for the last year. I don't get any of this stuff. And I think that's a perfect entryway for them. Like, don't try to find the smell like of a certain thing, but try to find, like you said, okay, do you smell a spice? Do you smell a, freshness? Do you smell anything that can be, like, more like fire-esque, and so like for this one, I get green apple and honey.
There you go.
But you definitely like, it's hard to not move it around and feel fresh, like a good, you walk into a clean room and things that the new pillowcases and the new bed sheets and everything just smells fresh. It's very mint like in that sense, not mint like in like how mint tastes, but in how mint smells.
And I love that too. Like what you just said is kind of how I try to lean more when I talk about something, is more, you can get into it and say like a green apple, but you overall describe something that makes sense to me, which is something bright and something fresh and something lively.
Yep.
And then you could encounter one that you're like, no, that has like these darker undertones. That's like some have more like lift, and then some like more pull you in. And I think what you're getting out of this rye is what I love about rye, is it makes you, even though people think of, oh, you drink whiskey in the, the fall, the winter, but like this kind of reminds you of spring in a way.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You guys were actually, because I didn't smell the fruit, but I did smell something sweet.
Yeah.
But what I was actually smelling that was overpowering that, well, not, I guess like matching with it was a minty, like a mint. So it was like a sweet mint. It wasn't just like a mint that you put in your mouth and it's like to whatever, like a regular mint, but more like a sweet mint. And it was,
and what you're talking about too that I love is, I do think, even though on the one hand there's no reason to be intimidated when someone's like, I smell cinnamon, and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But the flip side of it is, I find it's really helpful to taste with other people, because sometimes it will just click. Sometimes you'll just say, I'm not picking up on that. And sometimes it will like trigger a little memory and you're like, oh my God. And then once you smell that thing, you're like, it's raspberries. That's crazy. Now I smell it. And so I think the more you do that and you have those experiences, and this is what I always try to point out to people, even though it might be a little too esoteric for lack of a better word, is like, someone would be like, well, who cares? And I think the point is, the more you get to dig in and enjoy things, you have to pay attention to them in order to understand them. And you have to break it down. Otherwise, you can't be wowed by it, right? It's kind of like, the more you know about basketball, the more you appreciate the nuances of a pass that was made or a screen that was set or any element of the game. You become an expert. And the more expert you become, the higher your enjoyment of the game is. And that's why I think, like, smelling wine, tasting wine, whiskey, whatever, people treat it like it's snobby. But I think about it just like developing expertise in anything. It's like the more you know about basketball, the more fun it is to watch.
The more you
can
appreciate it.
It's like hearing someone like talk about the game, like, yo, did you see that dunk? It's like, not talking about basketball with you. It's just more to the game than a dunk.
Exactly. So I think that kind of is the point to me, is like every day throughout the day, whether it's coffee or, egg and cheese on a roll or whatever, you're going to encounter all these things. And the more you pay attention, the more you're kind of can get in the moment and all of a sudden stop and be like, damn, that
Yeah.
egg and cheese. This might be the best egg and cheese I've ever had. Or, or you can just stuff it in your face and not pay attention. And I'm just a big proponent that I think when you stop and pay attention to the way things smell and taste, it kind of enhances your enjoyment of all these things, and then it just kind of expands to other aspects of life.
And I love that comparison because my son, both boys love basketball. They love watching the Knicks with me. But when I talk to my 5-year-old, like he is in dunk mode. Like if you dunk, you are his guy. Like and especially if you can dunk in 2K, like my son Miles loves you. So Miles is like, Dad, he's a dunker. That's what he calls him. If you can dunk, you're a dunker. And then my older son, he's 8. And his is a little more complex than the 5-year-old, So he's like, and the problem with Mikhail is that he's supposed to be able to shoot everywhere, really out, in front of the 3-point line, but he's not really doing it. And Cat needs to learn to shoot more, And so like, and then I'll talk to them, and they'll be like, I don't understand that, like break that down to me. And I'm like, all right, but the more and more we talk, you see their levels. My 5-year-old talks more with my 8-year-old, and he wants to start talking more like my 8-year-old. So he's trying to understand the things that my 8-year-old realizes, and he's trying to figure out what me and my brother realize. So it's cool. The more time we spend together, the more time we talk, the more developed we get. So let's do that with the tasting notes. Cheers to you guys. Let's get a little sample of this one right here. Get a little bigger of a swiggy. All right.
Now, right off the bat, before I even drank it, when I was just swirling it, I got that grassy kind of like taste already going that you mentioned.
Yep.
Finish is really light. It's not as sweet as I kind of expected it, because it did smell really sweet.
Yeah.
But went down really smooth, and a little like honey, minty, grassy vibes. Overall, really, really well done. Easy sipper, and definitely like leans more like a spring, summertime drink for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, Al, I don't think that it's less sweetness on the nose. It's just different because you get so much of that like green apple and honey on the nose. But when I sipped it, it was more like citrus than it was apple. And if you have most oranges, they're not going to be as like potent of a flavor, like off the bat, unless they're like super, super juicy. But like citrus of like an old fashioned cocktail, like you get the citrus, but it's not like you're drinking an orange. So it's that kind of citrus as opposed to like the actual fruit of it. And I get more of the like little bit of peppery rice spice up front than I do on the smell. On the smell, I felt like it played more of the like, were the other ones in Destiny's Child. And the fruit was Beyonce, but then it like kind of switched. And so the spice was Beyonce on this one. But I do get the grassy note as well, which is cool because there's some ryes that are so earthy that they kind of taste vegetal to me. And I'm like, ooh, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to be drinking a vegetable field. Like, this is not it. But this is kind of like a well-crafted cocktail, where you have some cocktails that put a little bit of grass on the top of it, a little bit of sprinkle there for that smell to be the flavor, to give you that. So I feel like that's what I get there. So yeah, this would be really great in cocktails. And also it's like an entry level for like people that you want to hang out with that are like, I don't know if I like whiskey. Like I hear it's all burn, this, that, whatever. This is a perfect like rye. And to me, honestly, if I can introduce people to whiskey with a rye first, I feel like they'll drink anything in whiskey, as opposed to people that are introduced in bourbon first and get super heavy into bourbon. You have a lot of bourbon drinkers that are like, nah, I'm not a rye guy, but I feel like the other way is easier because it's like, oh, I accepted the spicy and the earthy, and oh, this is more sweet. I can like it all, as opposed to the other way around. So I think this is a great entry pour.
Given all your horse like background that went into this company, what would be great with this
Let's go.
Right? A mint julep. That
Oh,
would just be
100%.
perfect. Absolutely perfect.
That's funny you say that. A lot of times mint juleps are too sweet.
Yep.
So every
Yeah.
year when it's Derby time, I'll do the same Instagram video and I'm like, all right, it's time to make a mint julep. And I'll just take the rye, pour it over ice, no sugar, and then just get a big bouquet of mint and stick it in there. And I'm like, that's all you need is the smell of mint, like right under your nose, and a sip of the rye. Because to me, it's got enough sweetness. It's got the mintiness in it already.
It's got the mintiness for sure.
Yeah. You're 100% right. Yeah, it makes a great julep.
What are your thoughts, Apollo?
It's interesting because I was gonna say something that is gonna sound weird. I've never had it before, but I can imagine this is what it would taste like.
Yeah.
A dark chocolate s'more.
Mm.
I've never had
that, though. I think of marshmallow as a pretty common tasting note, like identifying a sort of confectionery sweetness in something. Because it's almost like marshmallow is kind of like a pure sweetness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the chocolate is not like a super sweet chocolate either.
Yeah, you're getting the bitter, not bitter in a bad way, but just like the, a darker chocolate with, not a milk chocolate, right?
Not a milk chocolate. Yeah. It is bitter, and bitter is also not always a bad thing.
Correct.
just like spices,
yes.
just like with spices. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
So
all of us are fans of this one. You guys, killed it on this one. And what's the typical MSRP on this?
Should be, depends where you are, but like 36 to 38.
No, yeah, that's perfect. Like that's perfect for a cocktail. And what's good about this is since it's not so rye spice forward, I feel like this would go well in rye or bourbon cocktails, like either one. So that would be awesome. Shout out to my guy Knickerbocker Av for joining us real quick. So before we go into this next pour, I want to ask my boys real quick. We're gonna have a little small segment called "Let's Talk Mike Brown." All right, Mike Brown has been someone that from the get-go got a lot of flack from a lot of people. They were so in their feelings and heartbroken that their lovely Tom Thibodeau was no longer the coach of the New York Knicks. And they desired Mike Brown to fall apart. They wanted him to be fired. They didn't think that he had anything to bring to the table. And here we are, 53-29. Franchise record, coaching milestone for the Knicks. Broke the Knicks records for most win by a first-year head coach. That's awesome. So let's talk about Mike Brown, the guy that helped the Knicks win the NBA Cup. We went 6-1 in that tournament, which was impressive. What are some things that stick out to you guys of Mike Brown coaching this year? And after this segment, we're going to go into the vertical series, which to me is one of those bangers that everybody needs on their shelf. So for the Knicks fans that are like, all right, I don't want to drink anymore, talk about the Knicks. We'll do this Mike Brown series for you real quick. So what are your guys' thoughts on Mike Brown this season? I'll go with you first, Al. What stood out to you?
Well, coming into the season, I wasn't sure if Mike Brown was a defensive coach or an offensive coach. I think when he was in Cleveland, he was a little bit more considered more of a defensive coach. And then when he was with Sacramento, he was considered more of an offensive coach. When he came in, I liked that he said he wanted to play fast. We didn't end up playing fast, but I kind of liked that ideology. I thought it was interesting that throughout he started off the year to me a little bit rocky. I know we started off relatively strong. We won the cup and all that. But where I was kind of critical of him was the way he was messaging to the players in the media, specifically like it felt like he was taking digs at Cat a lot of times in the media, and Cat wasn't responding well to that, right? Cat kept saying he wasn't sure what his role was in the offense and all this kind of stuff. And then we had that really long, tough stretch was like we lost 9 out of something. I don't know how many it was, but we had that tough stretch. And I remember the post game, they asked him like, well, do you have any like changes you're thinking about? And he was just like, I have some things I think I'm gonna do. And I remember being like, I don't believe you, bro. Like, I don't know if I believe you. And we came out of that, and he definitely made a lot of changes. He made changes to the defense where he did a much better job of hiding Cat, hiding Brunson, putting the defense in a much better position. And in the end, we ended up with a top five and a top five offense and defense and 53 wins. So great job in that sense. And then the other thing that we kind of were waiting to see him do, which is going to be polar opposite of Tom Thibodeau, was how was he going to approach the bench? Was he going to develop any young guys? And we saw the emergence of Kolek had some nice moments this season, man. And we also saw Diawara come out of nowhere, and Diawara looks like he's going to be a stud moving forward. And I don't know if we would have seen that if Tibbs was the coach. Just got to be brutally honest, man. So he did. That was the other part. That was a really good job that he did. But when he took this job, he understood that he was going to be judged on the playoffs. And I think when he was watching this team last year and he went into those interviews, he came in with an idea of how he was going to approach the regular season, how he was going to approach the bench, the development of our young guys. And then if he had those two things, that he definitely had an idea of how he was going to approach the playoffs. And that's what I'm excited to see, because I think he kept some things in his back pocket. Like, again, we keep talking about this. We didn't see the Brunson Cat pick and roll all season, and it was kind of frustrating, but then we saw it in the last couple of weeks. And so that makes me think that he had three things that he was looking out for, and the last one was how he was going to approach the postseason. So I'm excited about that. I give him an A, man. I got to give him an A for how he approached this season.
I like that. Apollo Reed, what are your thoughts?
I was always very. Now, first of all, he wasn't their first choice, so I was always skeptical of that. You know what I mean? Like, they interviewed a lot of guys who already had jobs, so I was kind of like, all right, well, this is just the guy that you're just picking because you're already fired, Tom. You know what I mean? So that you question a lot of things, but he was extremely prepared. You know what I mean? And one thing about him is he's very responsible for himself. Like, he's responsible when he's wrong about certain things. And he keeps other guys responsible as well. Like, I know Cat, and that's the thing. Not everybody responds well. That's the thing about being a coach is very difficult, is not everybody responds to the same things the same way, so you might be able to call out Jalen, and Jalen's like, you know what, you're right. I got to do better. And you say that to Cat, and Cat's like, but you didn't let me, you know what I'm saying? Like, not everyone's the same, not everyone responds to being called out, but he has to be like that because he's also calling Jalen out. It wouldn't be fair for him to only call Jalen out and then not call Cat out. You know what I'm saying? So just because Cat, didn't like it, I always was like, well, you're gonna have to deal with it because he does it to everybody. He's not gonna change it just for you. That wouldn't be fair to everybody else. But that's just one thing. He's responsible. One thing is he's very flexible. As you can see, there's been a flurry of different kind of offenses and defenses he's thrown out there. And lineups. Like you said, Tom Thibodeau's not taking the chance on Mohamed Diawara playing extended minutes with the starters. Like, that's not happening. And Tyler Kolek as well. Unless Brunson's not there, I'm sure he'll play Tyler. He did it last year. But it's I don't see him taking a chance on a lot of these young guys, like Mike would, and I got to give him credit for that. So it's the fact that he's so approachable with what he does. You even see it when he talks to the guys on the sideline. He's not yelling at these guys. You never see him yelling and screaming at these guys. It's always a conversation where he makes it easy. He doesn't even yell at the refs, which he gets a lot of slack for that sometimes because people are like, listen, bro, like, you got to get a tech or something like that. But he's a lot more level-headed than I thought he would be, because we saw some clips of him yelling at some guys that practice, crazy. So I'm like, I don't know what kind of coach this guy's going to be, but he's very approachable. So, there's a lot of boxes that we wanted Tom Thibodeau to check that he didn't check that Mike Brown is checking. So I got to give him his credit for it. And, you know, I got to give him an A, man. He's to finish with 53 wins and to, you know, have more wins than we did last year, and to come into something his first year and figure it out on the way there, and still looking like they're figuring out, like you said, top 5 in both offense and defense. You know, you got to give him credit. You got to tip your hat to that.
Yeah. So I'll give mine real quick, then we'll go into this next pour. I don't understand people in the chat giving him less than an A. To me, that's just ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And I don't just say that because we're playing Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs, but it's because it's absolutely ludicrous. All right. So thank you. So first and foremost, we hated when Tom Thibodeau was too passive in post games, where all he said was, we have to review tape. We have to review tape. And we're all like, what does that even mean? Like, you've said that every single loss this year, and the same freaking thing is happening. This guy is at least taking accountability and saying where it was him, or whether it was this player or it was that player. And I know people didn't like, and they were like, he's coming after Cat. Like, no, he's being his freaking coach. Like, I don't know when all of a sudden, like, this became a like 12-year-old girls softball league where the coach can't hold their players accountable. Like, it's ridiculous to me. Like, he called out Cat when Cat needed to be called out. He called out JB when JB needed to be called out. He called out OG when it needed to be called out. It's not the coach's fault if a player can't have the like professionalism to take that and go, okay, how do I grow from this? Like, at the end of the day, we all threw fits when Tom Thibodeau did not keep Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle accountable for the garbage that they put out on the court and the attitude. Okay. So now we actually have that, and now people want to gripe and complain again. I'm like, come on, y'all swing the pendulum way too freaking far to the right or to the left. This guy is actually doing what we wanted, and y'all still got time to complain. That's crazy to me. All right. Second, shout out to Carbon Intellect right here. Yeah, he said, right, Phil. A for Mike. Wisdom in the chat. He said, our bench is way deeper than we think. That you have to give you have to give him credit for as well. Like, at the end of the day, our bench is only as deep as we're willing to allow ourselves to see what they have to offer. Tom Thibodeau would not, even outside of the playoffs, play more than his guys. You know, it was never what can this guy bring? We would have never seen what Mo Diawara can possibly grow into. We would have never seen half-scale Siakam step on the court. We would have never seen the evolution of Tyler Kolek. No, is Kolek playing right now? Not many minutes, but we know what he can do and what we can continue to pour into because we know the groundwork is there. So for those that are giving him such a low score, let me give you guys a little bit of a breakdown because I spent some time on what Mike Brown was actually able to do. So not only willing to assemble a team, but to listen to them. Outside of when Johnny Bryant was there, did you ever see Tom Thibodeau with other coaches figuring out what the best thing was for us to do in those moments? None.
Never.
When did you see Tom Thibodeau allow another coach to take the present role and him step aside because this coach might know the scenario a little bit better because he's more defensive minded? And those guys are gathered around, you know, the team saying, hey, this is what we should do in this scenario. That's called leadership. A leader is willing to like be in charge and still step back because he knows that he's brought the right people around him. A poor leader is the guy that has to wear every single hat. Like if Sean was like, I have a distillery and I not only distill it, I blend it, I package it, I create the labels, I stick the sticker on the labels, I then go to UPS with the package and drop it off, and then I email the person and let them know it's on their way. Like,
I pour the wax on the bottle. I do it.
Yeah, I put the wax on the bottle. Like, yo, slow down, bro. Like, there's life outside of you, you know? So that to me is a strength of Mike Brown, is being able to do that. Another one, more offensive and ball movement than we have seen in years from the New York Knicks. Way more. And you see that we have thrived when that ball movement was there. When we started to have issues was when we went back to the old ISO ways. That's when we started losing games. So Mike Brown, even if the fast thing didn't, pan out the way that he wanted, the fact he was willing to and made sure that the team was passing the ball more, that also increased, the versatility in the defensive lineups. Sometimes there were lineups that made us scratch our heads, but then we'd be like, how did that work? Like, what the heck? That makes no sense that worked out. And it did. Or it didn't, and then we didn't see that lineup again. Thank God. That's wisdom as well. Being willing to try something now in the regular season when it doesn't matter, so that all the things that might work in the playoffs. Rookies developed, able to grow. More emphasis on communication and matchup-based adjustments. You saw him make those adjustments. You saw each player have more of a voice towards one another than we've done in previous years. Like each player has, stood up. We found a way to make the core work by the end of the season when we didn't know if it was going to work, because he did not assemble this team. He did not have any say in any of the stars, or any of the role players, really. And yet he still found a way to now at the end of the season, when we need it to be working, to see it start to work and work beautifully. Also, he's had him and his team able to utilize and put Mitchell Robinson in at the right times and keep him healthy, as well as many of the other players. We have not had any players play so much that their bodies have broken down completely. And we have not rushed players back when they've had injuries. So to me, all those things, I don't know how you not give the guy an A. Like, you may not like him, but at the end of the day, all of the things that he's done deserve an A. And that is me speaking my piece. Y'all can hate if you want. It's okay to be wrong. I still love you. All right.
One last thing that we all three of us failed to mention. Everyone's minutes are down this year.
Yep.
Yes.
No minutes police this year.
None.
And it looks like the guys are a lot fresher going into the playoffs this year than last year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's true.
And look at this. On top of that, like, we actually have, like, going into the playoffs, a lot more chemistry, in my opinion, between players that just seem to be on the same team. Like, I feel like he's now starting to get actual chemistry from these guys. Like, it looks like things are actually working. At times, Tibbs would do something, but it looked kind of clunky. Like, it works, but now things are starting to work. So for me, I got to give him an A. I got to give him his props. Is he perfect? No, but I'm not grading him based off perfection. I'm grading him off of what we've seen before. When was the last time you could say that we were in the top 5 in offense and defense in the season? You can't, and so shout out to Mike Brown. We're going to go into this next pour. Sean, as a Boston Celtics fan, has been burning on the inside having to hear about Mike Brown and the Knicks. And he's like, come on, go into the next pour already. So this one right here, I'm excited about. One that you guys didn't get, that Pinhook was actually really nice to send me later on, was this one right here. I tasted this. This is a small little sample bottle, but this is the Vertical Series Rye from last year. You get it?
Yes,
oh, dang. Al's the only one that don't got that one. We're not going to drink.
I have something that says Vertical, but this isn't the rye?
No, that's the bourbon. That's the bourbon. So I got this later, but I will share it with you when you hang out with us. But this is a pour that a friend let me have, and I wanted it so bad. I was dying for it. And then I got the message like, hey, sorry, can't send it to you. We don't have any more. And I was like, no, I was completely heartbroken. And so now I'm on like Facebook and trying to trade bottles to find one. But at least we get to dwell with the bourbon. So this is the 10-year aged bourbon Vertical Series, 115.9 proof. Tell us a little bit about the Vertical Series, Sean.
Yeah. So I think the thing that is so interesting about bourbon is typically in the industry, even though there's no like specific rule, people would say 70% of the flavor of bourbon comes from the wood, because what goes into the barrel is relatively neutral. Like, it's come off a column still. So, it's a corn-based distillate. And you can taste some grain, but relatively speaking, it doesn't have the strongest grain flavor. And so the new charred oak barrel, which is unique to bourbon and rye, the fact that it has to age in a new charred oak barrel means that that barrel is very caramelized and is going to have a bigger impact on the flavor of the whiskey. I don't know if most people know this, but because you can only use a barrel once to make bourbon because it has to be a new charred oak barrel, those used barrels go to Scotland. So most Scotch is aged in a used bourbon barrel. Most aged tequila, rum, that's where all these barrels go on to live their second lives. But that new charred oak barrel is imparting so much wood flavor. And the other thing that I think is interesting is it's only natural. People are very obsessed with the idea of age.
Yeah.
Is older better, and just being very age statement focused.
Yeah.
And I think that, at each step along the way in the aging process, you gain things, but you also lose things. And so I was really interested in doing this experiment where you're following the same barrels as they age from 4 to 16 years old. So over the course of 13 years, we bought a large number of barrels when they were 1 year old from MGP. We shipped them to Castle and Key, where they've been aging ever since. I waited till all the barrels were 4 years old. So imagine the barrels, they're not filled on the same day, but they're filled within 4 weeks of each other. So for all practical purposes, they have the same birthday, right? Mm-hmm. So they all turn 4 basically at the same time. They all turn 5 and 6 and so on. So I waited it. So 100% of the barrels are 4 years old. I take a portion of those barrels, try different combinations, and I create a blend, and we release a bottle that looks just like the one you have, except instead of a 10-year age statement, it has a 4-year age statement, right? Mm-hmm. You leave the barrels and all the rest of the barrels, those barrels, you come out, you dump them into a tank, you create the blend, they get bottled. All the remaining barrels stay where they are in the warehouse. A year later, your entire inventory has aged up by 1 year.
Yeah.
And now everything's 5 years old. And you take a small portion of the barrels, do a blend, we release a 5-year, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as I said, all the way up to 16. So what's really fun about it, and I think the goal is on the one hand, make really delicious bourbon. The other goal is that it's a fun experiment. You could taste the 4-year next to the 8-year. You can taste the 6-year next to the 8-year next to the 10-year. You could taste them blind and see if you could figure out, well, if I think I know that older is better, or if I think I know what time and wood does to whiskey, what if I get someone to set up a blind tasting for me, ages 6, 8, 10 out of order, and see if I can put them in chronological order based on age. And so it's really just, like I said, an experiment that kind of celebrates what's really unique about bourbon, which is how important the wood is, and everyone's kind of natural obsession with time and wood and age being really the thing that people think about the most. And so it's putting those two things together.
I love it.
I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question about age?
Yeah.
So is it always typical that the proof will go up as you age it? Or
that's a great question.
Does it go backwards? Does it go
forward?
Yeah,
that's a great question. So commonly what people will say is in the United States of America, because we have a generally warmer climate, you'll see it climb. And if you're aging in Scotland where it's much cooler, you'll see it drop.
Oh,
the reason is because alcohol evaporates at a lower temperature than water. And so it's fluctuating both ways. But if overall it's the heat cycling, there's more warm days, and on those warm days it's incredibly hot, like Kentucky in the summer, you're going to evaporate more water than alcohol, concentrating the alcohol and raising the proof. And then if you're in a cooler environment, you can get more cooler temperature. And so it might even kind of stay the same or drop. So interestingly though, and it's such a good question that you asked, because Castle and Key, where we age all of our stuff, they have brick and concrete warehouses as opposed to the standard metal. And they're also kind of down, like in Kentucky, they'd call it in a holler, but like in a little dip. And there's water running through the property. So there's a lot of moisture, there's a lot of dampness, and the fact that the warehouses are brick and thick walled, the temperatures don't go up. So all of our stuff is dropping proof. So in fact, that one that we're tasting, which was bottled at cask strength, went into the barrel at 120 proof. So it's dropped almost 5 proof points since, which I think what's cool about that is that if you almost just think about it as aging more slowly. And I think the knock on wood is that if you get too much of it, it becomes so dominant, and then it's just like tasting wood, and you're not getting the fruit, you're not getting the little the bits of sweet and the bits of spice, and it's just like becomes so dominated by wood.
Yeah.
And if you age in a cooler environment like this, especially because we're going up to 16 years, which is definitely on the older side, I feel like it's going to keep it maintaining. And actually, maybe a good question, because the word came up before, is like, I think this is still maintaining some freshness. It's not all, even the 10-year, you get more caramelized. Like, I mean, again, we tasted rye earlier, and rye and bourbon are quite different, but you get these richer, more caramelized, kind of darker fruit notes. Sometimes at that age, you'll start to get more cherry, is very common, or you'll start to get, maybe you'd say like fig and date, like dried fruit. And then I always think about the, like, younger, it's more butterscotch, or you said marshmallow, like brighter sweetness.
Yeah.
And then as it get older, if you think about like a creme brulee, like someone torched some sugar and it's starting to get more caramelized type of sugar character. Or sometimes you'd say more like brown sugar molasses, like you're starting to get deeper, darker sugar notes, which is what's really cool. But I think that's what's really fun. I mean, imagine if you guys had your little collection of this at home, and then you're kind of like, if I really, let me taste the 4-year versus the 10-year in like a big span like that. But the same mash bill, same whiskey, distilled in the same place, put in the same type of barrels, aging in the same place, and you're just isolating, age as a variable.
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to answer a question real quick. The Real Ham for Free asked, making me wonder, he said, do they ever age in walnut or other hardwood? So no. In order to be considered bourbon or rye in America, it has to be aged in new charred oak barrels. So they can't be used charred oak. They have to be new, brand new charred oak barrels. So you can age later, like if you double barrel, like if you're going to say it's going to finish in a pecan wood barrel, or it's going to finish in a maple wood barrel, or finish in a walnut barrel. You'll be able to finish it extra time, but it has to fully like age to completion first in a new charred oak barrel, and then you can age it for however longer outside of that in another barrel, but it has to start the process in a new charred oak barrel.
The one thing I'd point out, just as a nuance for people when they're paying attention, is if you start in a new charred oak barrel and then you move it into some other type of wood for a finish, right? You can't call that bourbon. You can call it bourbon that you did something to, because it was bourbon first and then you did something to it. But if you took a bourbon and then you put it in a cognac barrel or a rum barrel or whatever, you could not just label that product, straight bourbon whiskey. You have to disclose the thing that you did to it that makes it not bourbon. So you get to say you're basically saying it started as bourbon, but we did something to it.
Yeah. So here where it says straight bourbon, you're able to say straight bourbon because that's what it is. Like everything that came out of this came from the original barrel that it was in. Otherwise, you have to, on anything else, it has to say straight bourbon whiskey finished in honey cask, Armagnac cask, whatever.
Okay.
You have to let people know that it's bourbon that was then aged in something else. Like those extra flavors were not naturally there from the original maturation process. Those came from maturation in something else to add to that bourbon. So, all right, let's give this one a smell, see what you guys get on it. I'll go first this time because this is my kind of ball game. Like I love the sweet, but anything that has like a leather kind of smell or taste for me, it's like, give me. Like I love leather. Like I'm like friggin' Anchorman. Like I love leather bound books. Like this to me is perfect. So I get leather, I get like vanilla, like straight up vanilla bean, not like artificial vanilla, but vanilla bean. Like if you taste certain ice creams, there's like vanilla bean ice cream, and then there's vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream is artificial as crap. Vanilla bean is absolutely delicious. So I get that. The spices we were talking about is like clove, nutmeg, not spicy, but that. And then I get like a burnt caramel. I love that smell. Like, I don't necessarily know if I'd eat burnt caramel, but I like the smell of burnt caramel. And so that's really, really nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
On the nose, I'm getting like a grapefruit or like a tangerine.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
The peel.
I don't remember, but I don't always remember my tasting notes, but I might have said like burnt orange peel. Which to me it's the same as like you're in the same genre.
Okay.
Like there's still some sort of citrus coming through.
Yeah,
but
citrus.
But
it's
like there's something about it that's a little darker. Like it's like and that would speak to it being older, because it's typical to get citrus on both bourbon and rye when it's younger, but it's more of like you guys are saying like zest. Like almost like when you zest lemon into a cocktail or orange, it's like bright like that. But this is kind of like more of like if you candied orange or you burnt orange, it's like a richer version of that citrus.
Yeah. It's weird because I was thinking, I'm like, is that grapefruit? Like, it's weird.
Yeah, I love that too. And honestly, I think it's cool that you're picking it up. I don't like split hairs between like grapefruit, orange, this, that. At the bottom line is like you're picking up a citrus note, which I definitely got when I was doing the tasting
citrus. Right.
You guys ever like pick up something on the nose and then lose it?
Yeah.
Does that ever happen?
Oh yeah. That's why I keep going like this, because sometimes like this nostril picks it up, but not that one.
Yeah. That's what I do. I try to do both.
When I first smelled this, I smelled cherry cola.
Yeah.
Cherry cola is what I got. And then Phil started going into his notes, and I could smell the leather and I could smell the vanilla. So now I'm at a vanilla cherry cola with a little leather on the side. And then at the very end, I'm picking up a little like nuttiness, like a cashew, but just very faint taste of that.
All right, so let's go in for a pour of this, guys. Cheers. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting that cherry cola on the nose for sure. It's back. I lost it on the nose, but it came back when I drank it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a cherry bomb. And when I say cherry bomb, like there's some that taste like medicinal cherry, and I'm like, oh, that's not my jam. Like this to me is, so when you go to like Total Wine and Spirits or ABC Liquors or your local store to buy like cocktail cherries, there's like the $3.99 cocktail cherries that you can buy, and then there's am I really gonna spend $28.99 on maraschino cherries? And you're like, yes, I am, because I care about my cocktails. Like that is the kind of cherry bomb you get, like a maraschino dark cherry like bomb. Like, yeah, that's incredible. And I get that caramel in there as well. Like the caramel's there for me. Some brown sugar. Yeah, that
a little white spice at the end.
Brown sugar. It's weird. Maybe because I had some earlier. It's giving me because I had a macadamia nut cookie earlier, and it's bringing back that kind of taste. It's weird. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm telling you, you must be aligned with my palate. I forget what I put in the notes. I might have put frangipane, which is like a candied almond paste. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like you're getting something nutty that
like
has
that
has a candy quality, which again, it doesn't matter whether it's macadamia or almond or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a nuttiness in there, but it's sort of like wrapped in some sort of sweetness. It's not, because the nut on its own is kind of, tannic and has a little bit of astringency, but it's like the nuttiness has a sweet character, which is really cool. I love too, like the way you guys are talking about both whiskeys. And this is what, to me, it kind of goes to the idea of the vertical series, like, even though the rye you tasted isn't part of the vertical series, but younger versus older, they both have their merits. What you're describing to me is like, this is an after dinner pour. This is a sipping whiskey, you're in the sitting, hanging out with your friends, watching a game, and you're just like something to keep coming back to and thinking about because it keeps grabbing you and you keep smelling and tasting different things. It's really engaging. And then the rye is like something bright, something easier, great for a cocktail, would make a good mint julep. And they both have their place, right? I don't want to make a mint julep with this. But, and maybe the rye is what I want, you know, when I'm outside, you know, lighting up the grill and I'm about to cook something outside. And then this is what I want after I've had my meal and I'm sitting down and I want to have a pour. It's like each has its moment and occasion. It's not like one is better than the other. They're just different things for different moments, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I love that. And you know what I love about this one is like, I don't get a bunch of spice on the actual like palate, but I get a lot of dry spice like at the end, which is crazy because I, like you were saying earlier, younger rye, you don't really get as much spice. You get more of the sweetness. But this is surprising for a 10-year bourbon, like the spice that you get at the end. Like you get the spice that you would normally get on a 9-10-year rye in that finish, which to me
keep in mind though, this definitely qualifies as a high rye bourbon. It's got 21% rye in it. So you would expect, to me, there's no rule, but like high rye bourbon is when there's something 18% or more rye in the mash bill. So you're at 21% rye. So you're firmly in the high rye territory. So I think it's cool that you picked up on it. Like at 21% rye, especially at this age, you would really expect some of those rye notes to kind of break through as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely delicious. So Sean, let us know what. Oh, real quick before I ask Sean, great comment in the chat from Carbon Intellect. He said, "Hey, Apollo, is it smooth?"
Listen, we have banned that. We have banned that word.
Here, Sean. We got a running joke here with Apollo that I could make a highlight reel of just like the whole season of Apollo going, I think it's smooth, you know, it's smooth. So our chat loves asking.
No, it's fine. You know what? He didn't say anything to me until like a couple weeks ago. We've been doing a show for like a year and a half, and I've been saying smooth for a long time. I didn't know it was a forbidden word.
This is why, because I, as your partner in crime and as your homie, am not gonna be like, yo, Apollo, you keep saying smooth. Like, do you? But the fact that the chat started asking, hey, Apollo, is this one smooth? Like, they picked up on it, not me. Like, I didn't call you out on it. The chat did. That's why that's our crew right there.
So I'm gonna say something in defense of Apollo.
Thank you. Someone, please.
Which is really just that I think people see smooth as a simple word.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is replace it with the word balanced. Because this is how I always look at it. Right. Okay. When someone said, like, when I think about a whiskey that has complex flavors and aromas, those flavors are in harmony. Mm-hmm. And then they have a harmonious journey across their palate. Like, not one thing is just jumping out. Like, you feel like there's, in wine, we would call it round, right? It's just like all these things are hitting your palate from front to middle to back. And that journey is really kind of seamless and balanced. And so I always just take the positive and say, smooth is considered not to be like, quote unquote, the right word in beverage speak. But I think what it's getting at is the exact same idea, which I would call balance or harmony. Balance. You know, it's like, this is a really, like if I said, this is a really well-balanced bourbon, to me, that would be someone else's smooth. And there is, I think people don't like it because it seems simple, but I think what's underneath saying smooth is exactly that right. There's an evenness. And here's another thing too, by the way, really important thing is what I would call integration of alcohol, which is, this all has proof, right? And you can taste an 80 proof or 90 proof whiskey that can taste sharp, or in beverage speak with wine or spirit, we would say it's hot. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Hot. When you say this wine's hot, what you're saying is there's a perception of alcohol in the palate. Like the alcohol is kind of jumping out at you. And that's another part of balance, is that alcohol integration. So it's the alcohol is well integrated. They're all these flavors in harmony with each other, and the way they journey across your palate. I mean, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I think the journey across the palate can be sometimes kind of disjointed or like schizophrenic. There are all these things, but like something's like, whoa, and then it's that. And there's something great when it is just kind of like that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's weird because I think that's exactly what I didn't know how to I'm new to this, so I'm like the rookie here. So usually it's kind of like when I say words like smooth, it's because I don't have any other word to describe what I'm saying. But I usually wouldn't use smooth for something that had a lot of heat at the end. You know what I mean? Because it
Correct.
it wasn't a good balanced transition from front to back. And I guess, like I said, that's a better way to explain what I was trying to say.
And
it's
also,
more balanced for sure.
I've spent so much time, first as a sommelier and around wine, and then, as a master blender, and basically everyone has an agreed upon lingo. Just like if you guys are talking about hoops and no one really knows hoops, like everything is going to seem foreign to them. Like, what are you guys talking about? And beverage is no different. The people who do this for a living and are beverage professionals kind of have this agreed upon way. And then everyone knows, when one person says balanced, or one person says there's a little bit high tone, or this is a little bit sharp, or, I'm getting I'm getting a lot of tannin, or whatever all the stuff is. And it's everyone's speaking the same language. Just like when people all are really into the same sport, they know a lingo that someone who doesn't know the sport would be like, I have no idea what these guys are talking about.
All right, Sean. I was trying to make fun of him, and then you brought it all together to be the sweet guest.
No, now I'm going to keep track of how many times he says balanced.
No, tally him up. Tally, it's coming. It's coming.
Man, to make him feel comforted.
Sometimes opposite sides of the spectrum, man.
This sucks. All right. So
I had a question. For Sean.
We're not going to drink this one online because Al's not got the sample right now. But I will say, if you guys see Vertical Series Rye 2025 out in the wild anywhere, pick it up. Like straight up toasted oak, maple, vanilla, like, oh my goodness, tobacco, everything that you would want in a rye is that 9-year rye. I'm still on the hunt for my bigger bottle. As you can see, I'm going to savor this one. This little like maple syrup style bottle right here. I'm going to cherish it. But I'm going to let Al ask his question, and then we're going to ask Sean a question about the brand before we let him enjoy his night.
Okay. By the way, this one is excellent, guys. If you see this one as well, pick them up. Both of them. The rye was excellent too. We've been talking about like how the different drinks we had today kind of paired up with different moments. And then you also mentioned about how your partner has the horses and he's naming the horses with the bourbon, and you're pairing them up with the bourbons. So one of the horses wins and let's say you weren't doing the whole horses matched up with the bourbon, but you have a horse that wins the Kentucky Derby or the Triple Crown. I know the Triple Crown is all 3 races, but Kentucky Derby or one of those races in the Triple Crown is big. So you hit one of those races, you're done going crazy. You're back at the man cave with your partner. What is the bourbon? How do you craft the bourbon for that situation, for that moment? How old is it? Is it a rye? Is it a bourbon? What is the one that how would you craft it?
Yeah, I would go. So I'm always honest about this. I prefer rye. I just think it has more complexity. So I would definitely celebrate with a rye. And I think actually the one you've got there, the 9-year, I mean, that won American Whiskey of the Year. So that already won a pretty nice award. So I would celebrate with that whiskey because it's also a champion.
Nice.
But it's got so much complexity, and it's got just all these cool like ginger notes and clove notes and spice notes and caramel notes. It's like almost like these like ginger snap cookie notes. That would feel like a great celebratory. Just won a big race for sure.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go look for that.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I love that. Sean, honestly, it's been a total blessing. If you guys find a vertical series rye anywhere in the warehouse, please let me know. I will send you my Zelle money immediately, as that is a bottle that is seriously, like I said, last year that made my, I think, like top 5 for all of 25's releases. So that bottle was incredible.
And
So
the
I can't.
10-year rye came out too, so don't
I
sleep on
know.
the 10-year rye.
I'm
So
not gonna sleep on it at all. Trust me. What kind of things do you guys currently have in the mix? Like, what is this year's collaboration series, if you don't mind talking about, like, what that could look like?
So living in New Orleans, obviously great food culture, restaurant culture. One of my friends and neighbors, Donald Link, has some of the best restaurants in the city. A restaurant called Koshan, another called Pesh, which is a seafood restaurant. Koshan Butcher, which is this amazing sandwich place. Herb Saint, which is more of the fine dining restaurant. These restaurants are incredible. And so the whole idea of the collaboration series is inviting someone who's developed their palate in some way, not necessarily in whiskey, typically not in whiskey, but in some other way, and bringing them into a blending process. So like the cool thing about working with Donald and then his business partner, Steven, who's also a chef, setting them up, all they do is taste things for a living, right?
Yeah.
And they like whiskey, but they've never blended a whiskey. Then you set them up with the blending methodology. So they're put in, and they haven't blended whiskey. So you're like, hey, this is how it works. This is what we're doing. And you give them the opportunity, though, to then be like a chef. They have all these, each barrel has different aromas and flavors, and they get to essentially compose a dish, which was the bourbon. And this year was actually double oak. It was 6 years old, but 3 years in the first barrel and then 3 years in the second, which is atypical. Usually it's a lot less time.
Yeah.
What was cool working with them, and it was interesting, they like whiskey, but they're not whiskey enthusiasts or nerds, so they tend to not drink a lot of high proof stuff. I do all the blending at cask strength, and then the proofing happens afterwards. And we had to work our way through 13 individual cask strength barrels.
Yeah.
And 2 barrels in, these guys were like, "Oh my God, this is a lot." Like they're like this, they're professional tasters, but they're not used to tasting. And you're spitting, by the way. You're not drinking at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't be able to taste anything. But just that much 121 proof whiskey on your palate is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then bit by bit, they're professionals. They kind of found their way. But then we got to the end of it, and we created a blend that was amazing at cask strength. And I was like, guys, that doesn't seem to be your thing. Why don't we play around with the proof a little bit, and we'll try some different things. And we proofed it. We proofed it down to 115. We proofed it down to 110, and we took it down to 104. And everyone agreed 104 with that particular whiskey was the right answer. And I think it's also cool because they're the collaborators. I'm like, let's make something that you guys would be excited to enjoy. And not everything needs to be, hazmat for people who don't know the term, like 140 proof or more. There's room for something that still has plenty of richness and flavor, but it doesn't have to just, blow you up. And so I thought it was really cool to kind of let them not just take the lead on the blending, but like, let's make a whiskey that you guys like. And it came out so good. It's the white label white wax. It'll retail for about $89. So super approachable with all.
When does that drop?
That should be coming out actually in a few weeks. And it's only a 10 barrel blend. So it probably produced, 326 packs total production. So, definitely a good amount will come to New York and come to Louisiana. You'll see it around. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. I hope you guys, get a chance to taste it because
we definitely will.
Based on what you all were kind of giving me with the notes, I think you'd really enjoy it.
I love that.
I will be on the lookout for sure.
My question, since I'll be at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, will I see you there? Will you be there?
No, we're not. That's what I haven't gone to. It's so hard. I will say this from my perspective. You want to do all the things.
Yeah.
And they're just only so many, and then we're a small company too. I don't think people understand sometimes when they think about, craft versus, there are people producing millions of cases. Like it's conglomerate mass scale. Yeah. And then our entire company is 13 people or 12 people.
Wow.
you know, and then keep in mind that's because we don't do production in house, so we're outsourcing all these things.
Yeah.
But if you look at our entire team from like, you know, CEO to sales to finance to marketing to logistics, all of it, creative, you know, graphic design, it's 12 people, you know, including me. So just some combination of like time and resources, you know, it's not like, oh, I don't think the, you know, Kentucky Bourbon Festival is worth going to. It's just like you know, these other companies get to show up and they roll up with a truck and they have 7 people who can like unpack a bar that they reassemble. And like those are big dollar resources. You know?
No, I understand. Well, then I will be hitting you up because me and my wife, we're going to spend quite a bit of time out there when we're
oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I'll definitely help give you the lay of the land for sure.
Yeah, so we'll definitely connect with you, drive out there, spend some time with you, and check out what you got going on there, create some content.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, so I just added you on your personal account, so I'll shoot you a message so we can lock something down.
Okay,
but
fantastic.
let everybody in the chat know how they can support you.
Yeah, so pinhookbourbon.com is the website. Pinhook is on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at the Sean Josephs. One thing I'd mention, because we talked a lot about the vertical and these limited releases, if you go to our website, there's something called Breeze. Breeze is actually the fastest that a horse runs before a race, but it's also like, obviously it's a breeze, it's easy. That's the way to stay on top of all of our limited stuff, to make sure you get the vertical series every year, to make sure you get the collaboration series. It's a text to buy platform. So once you sign up, we don't send out a bunch of BS stuff. Like we're going to be like, hey, collab is here. And it's just like, once you're set up with, you know, your shipping and your credit card info, you get that text and you just reply yes. Okay, and then they're just going to ship you the bottle. So it's pretty frictionless. And we do a couple items every year that are Breeze only. So it's kind of like, you know, we don't have a physical distillery or gift shop. So it's kind of like our online virtual gift shop. So if you're into the more limited stuff and you want to make sure you get your hands on it, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
And yeah, but my other advice to people, no matter where you are, you go in any bar or restaurant, right? And whether you're going to have an old fashioned or a Manhattan, or you just want something on the rocks, you ask for Pinhook no matter what. And then if they don't have it, you go, I'll just have a Miller Lite.
Yeah. I love that. So subscribe to what he was talking about, because you do not want to be me. You do not want to be looking on Facebook for the Pinhook Vertical Series 9-year, trying to figure out how many bottles you have to trade for that. You don't want to be that guy. You want to get it while it's available. So do me and yourself a favor and subscribe to that. So thank you, Sean. Seriously, it was nothing but a pleasure having you on here. I hope your Celtics fall apart and burn in the playoffs.
I understand.
And once they do, I will send you a message with laughter and
you can blow me up.
vile thoughts in my heart and my mind. But I appreciate you. I appreciate
you guys. That was really fun.
It's been a pleasure, Sean.
Right.
Great meeting.
And thank you for throwing out that life jacket for me. I appreciate you.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. All right, y'all.
Have a good night.
Cheers.
Later.
All right. That was Sean from Pinhook Bourbon. That was a blessing to have him on.
Hey, the 10-year rye is on their site right now.
Yeah. Well, that's this year's. That's this year's. I haven't had this year's yet. But I won't. If it's anything like last year's, it's incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, I want to give a shout out to Taryn Mosley in the building. He said they got to play Cat at the 4. They got to play Kolick. I agree on the play Kolick part. The Cat at the 4, that's going to be hard with Mitchell Robinson's injury history. When they do play the double big, yes, it looks beautiful. I don't know how often we can play it. I think against small teams, we got to stay away from it. But with bigger teams, we have to utilize it. But I'm excited, guys. All right, because we got 2 people in the back that I'm so excited to chop it up with, because these guys have been seriously just a blessing to have on the chat. We had Joe from AC previously jump on up. And then last few weeks, you guys met my guy, Tony Tone. And like I said, he's building his new online presence when it comes to like YouTube and everything like that. He's mostly on Facebook and Instagram. But I seriously, like, this dude is just a standout dude. So I love the opportunity to have him on. He texted me on Facebook earlier, was like, yo, I think I got some time tonight. And I was like, yep, time to roll through. So we got my guy Joe, we got my guy Tony Tone, and we're just gonna lock in real quick. So give it up for those guys. What up, Joe? What up, Tone?
Yo.
What's going on, fellas?
Yo, salute. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course,
Yeah,
bro.
on, bro.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate you. All right. So we're gonna say our goodbyes. We're gonna rock for another like 35, 40 minutes. But Apollo Reed, he's got that like gotta clean toilets in the morning kind of vibes going on. So
I hope not. Jesus Lord.
He's got to do that school maintenance work in the morning. So real quick, Apollo, I want you to give your thoughts on this upcoming series. How do you think we're gonna fare?
I think it's a series that we win. I'm looking forward to seeing how the offense, the schemes that Mike Brown throws out there. I want to see how we run in the playoffs with a new coach. There are some challenges with the Hawks. I'm not gonna act like they're just a team we're gonna walk over, because they're not. I think this might be a six game series, probably more like the Piston series last year, something that's a tough series, that we're gonna have to fight for all 6 games. But I think that especially because of the length that they have, they make it hard for Brunson. But I think there's strengths that we can take advantage of versus them, especially the size on the interior with Cat and Mitchell Robinson. So I think we just need to enforce a lot of that and just make sure that we enforce our will and just outplay the guys. I'm looking forward to seeing what Mike Brown's going to do. But like I said, I think this is a 5 to 6 game series. If we play the way we're supposed to play every single game, so I'd say it's a 5 game series.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. We're going to break down that series a little bit more in detail. I'll miss you here. But we'll get your thoughts again next week. Appreciate you, bro. And always make sure scrub up and down. Don't go too fast so nothing splashes back at you. I don't want nothing to splash on me, bro. All right. No splash effect.
No toilet work for me. No toilet work for me. Thank God.
You're gonna put you back at the pool. You're gonna be mad.
Yeah, that's and I got to deal with the pool again tomorrow. I already know. So at least I'm prepared for it this time.
At least in the morning you'll know that nobody pooped in the pool last night. So you ain't gotta like fish it out or nothing like that. That's a horrible job. So
Hydrate, brother. Hydrate.
Got you, man. I appreciate that, man. Salute.
All right, have a good night, bro.
Take care, brother.
Salute, man.
Peace.
All right, gentlemen, you guys came at the perfect time. All right, because this last hour we're gonna be breaking down this series against the Hawks. All right, this is a series that I'm excited about. It's one that honestly, like out of the 3 teams we could have played, it's probably the last team I wanted to play. Out of the Raptors, the Heat, the Magic and the Hawks. The Hawks were the last team that I wanted to play out of those 3 teams. But New York luck, here we are. We're playing the Hawks. All right. So let's talk about this a little bit. All right. Because with the predictions of the series, it's out there in social media and it's out there all over broadcasts and stuff like that. ESPN panelists give it 12-0 in favor of the New York Knicks. Out of 12 analysts that gave their predictions on the series, 12 gave it to New York.
Hey, at least they're finally getting something right.
Right?
I actually hate that. I like when they are against us.
Underestimate,
well, that's a good way of looking at it too. But hey, man, they finally got us. Give us some props. They've been hating on us for too long, man. So much hate.
I feel you.
I can't. Way too much hate. You guys know what I'm talking about. Come on.
I do. That's why seeing this stuff was kind of like, dang, okay. Steve Ashburner of NBA.com said the Knicks are going to win it. Multiple betting analysts said that if you're going to bet on either team, it should be the Knicks. And
you heard that, Big Perk? You heard that, Big Perk?
Yeah, Big Perk is crazy right now. And then Ben Stiller says Knicks in 5. And if Ben Stiller says Knicks, it's got to be Knicks, right? It's Ben. All right. So let's look at the head-to-head summary before we start giving predictions. All right. I'm just going to break some things down before I get each and every one of your guys' thoughts. All right. So in the games that we played with them, the Knicks beat them twice. They beat us once. But all the games were tight, high scoring, and very in the clutch wins for either team. But we tended to execute better in late game performances. So in the first game, the Knicks won 128-125. The game that we lost was a bit of a, in favor of the Hawks. They won 111-99. And then in that last game, we beat them 108-105. So the main pattern was that clutch half court execution for the Knicks. Like we were able to, like in clutch moments, make it happen. And the main thing for the for the Hawks, was that they played with faster pace. And they were explosive on those scores, like running scores that made a difference in the game. So, which over 7 games can be a bit draining, especially for a team that has not played with that kind of pace. So if this round like goes more than 5 or 6 games, that can be more of a this affects the Knicks in the next round. The pace and aggressiveness and physicality that they play with. I don't think it necessarily affect this round as much, but if it goes more than 5 games and they're playing with that kind of pace and aggressiveness, that can affect us more so in the second round. So when it comes to outstanding players, for us, it was Jalen Brunson. He was clearly the clutch player in a lot of those games, especially in the fourth quarter. And Karl Anthony Towns had a 36-point game where he also put up massive rebounds against the Hawks. And then OG and Mikhail both played well in those games, which is important because there's been some games where OG and Mikhail have kind of ghosted and we're like, what the freak is going on? But against the Hawks, which is a team that you would think maybe they would not play as well because they are strong defensively and they also have that length. That's when OG and Mikhail actually showed up. So for them, the most consistent player was Jalen Johnson throughout the whole thing. And then another thing was Nickeil Alexander-Walker torched us 2 games out of those. One of them where he had 36 points. And then CJ McCollum's veteran shooting also played a fact. And we allowed Okongwu to go 31 points on one of those games. Our top defenders in those series were Anunoby, Bridges, and Josh Hart. And their defensive juggernauts were Dyson Daniels, which can play a factor as well because a lot of Dyson Daniels was on Jalen Brunson. They put their best defender on Jalen Brunson, and he had problems a lot throughout that scoring. So that's a matchup for us to watch and to make sure that Jalen Brunson continues what we've seen in these last few games where the ball was moving. So it's not ISO Jalen because Dyson Daniels and a double team can stop that. But overall, the Knicks were better team defensively, and they pretty much banked on Daniels as their point of attack defender. And then the last thing we'll look at is Jalen Brunson this season had 30 points and 32 points per game. And he was 7 to 13 assists in those games. So the games that he was high in assists, we torched them. So that's a key factor. So the best player in all of these games was Jalen Brunson, no matter what, even with Dyson Daniels on him. So I think that's a huge thing. So the overall matchup breakdown, Knicks won that series. The best clutch player on the whole court was Jalen Brunson. Stronger team defense went to the Knicks. More reliable half-court offense went to the Knicks. And where the Hawks competed was in higher pace and ball movement and multiple scoring options, and Dyson Daniels made things hard. So knowing all of those things going into the playoffs, I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are in this first round. And I'm going to go with you first, Tone, because I want to know what you think when it comes to this first series, what you're hoping to see, what things kind of worry you, and where you think this series goes in 7.
Yeah, no, thanks. We're in the playoffs again, guys. So super hyped about that. Number one, to your question, where do I see the series going? So my concern, I'll start with the concern and work to the positive. My concern would be along the lines of the 3-point shooting. I think I mentioned that in my last time I visited you guys. The 3-point shooting guarding that 3-point line. The Knicks didn't really seem to fix that closing out the season. So that is a point of concern for me. And then also with Atlanta, I would say the doubling up on Brunson. So we all know that the size they size up on Brunson every time. So that double teaming Brunson, forcing him to have his forcing the ball out of his hands, I think is going to be a concern. However, you guys were talking about earlier, Coach Brown has been versatile in his coaching style. So I would like to see the adjustment where Brunson plays off the ball, throughout the series. Number one, it's going to help him, retain energy throughout the playoffs if he plays off the ball a bit more instead of just being ball dominant throughout the series. Even though you brought up a good point that Brunson was the best player, throughout the season. The playoff series is a different animal, especially when it's back to back. So, that's really where I see, where the coaching and Brunson's play, where those have to match. And then lastly, just I guess, my take. I believe it's cliche, but Knicks in 6. I think the Knicks lose the road games due to hot shooting by Atlanta from the 3-point line. I think that's going to catch them at some point throughout the series. Yeah. Otherwise, if they can eliminate that, the 3-point shooting, at least on one of those road games, then I say the Knicks in 5.
Yeah. So to your point, Jalen Brunson was the best player on the court, but he was also averaging above average Jalen Brunson numbers in assists. So that's a key factor. Like, we have to see that Jalen Brunson selfless kind of basketball in order to win, because these guys, Dyson Daniels himself makes things difficult for Jalen. But if they start to see that Jalen regresses when it comes to like the assists and he doesn't want to give it up and he wants to play like hero ball, that's when they'll throw a double on him and be able to lock him down, like, for sure. So I definitely think that it's important that Jalen Brunson keeps the ball moving so that we're able to actually see the New York Knicks execute the way that we have, because he had 13 assists in one of those games, so we got to make sure that Jalen Brunson is effective. And we saw in those last few games, even in that game against Atlanta, that when he moves the ball, he's still an elite basketball player. Like, he's still able to score. And so that's what I want to see from him in general, is don't just score, like, move the ball, use that pick and roll with Cat that works so well in the last 4 games of the season. And it'll allow you to be the elite player that you are, but also allow everybody else to eat so that the Hawks have to second guess double teaming you. So I think that was great take on your part. What are your thoughts when it comes to this series, Joe?
Yo, man. Well, I'm listening to what you guys are saying. There's a lot of good things coming out. Let me touch on one thing real quick. The last game we played the Hawks, we won 108-105. And Jalen Brunson shot 11 for 26. I don't see Jalen Brunson having a usage like that with those numbers in this series. I think Mike Brown is going to pivot a little bit to give more shots to Josh Hart to get him open. He's going to be our option in the corner, or OG Anunoby. I think OG Anunoby is going to be our player to watch, and I want to see how he fares in this series, because I think he's going to be our X factor, and he's going to be the guy that, A, gets the good assignments, defensive assignments, and B, is hitting his shots. So when it comes to the series overall, I got us winning easy money against this team. I'm not scared about this Atlanta Hawks team at all. Like, I'm not spooky in the woods, not one bit when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks. They might get one game out of us, but listen, our bench is insane. We got Mitchell Robinson, Jordan Clarkson, Landry Shamet, and Miles McBride. Who do they have coming off the bench that's shooting like McBride, Shamet, and Clarkson? Like, come on. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Another thing I will say, we have an X factor, and his name's Jeremy Sohan. He's going to come in the game, and he's going to lock things down on defense. He's going to be a distributor. He's going to be an outlet, and he's going to get some good rebounds for us. You watch. But yeah, regarding
what do you think the series goes? Like with all those factors, how do you think that we fare in this series?
I think this is going to be easy money for us. I know a lot of people that are saying that they think this Hawks team is gonna give us a run for our money, but man, I think we're gonna blow them out in the first game, and we're gonna send a message. These guys wanted to see us in this series. They said, "Oh, we want to tank and we want to play the Knicks." Guess what? Bark, bark, bark. Our players, we're coming at you, boy. Guess what? You guys just woke up the beast. You guys have no idea what they've gotten themselves into, man. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it loud, because I'm not going to have a filter when it comes to this, man. I think the Knicks are going to sweep the Atlanta Hawks. Give them a game.
Yeah.
Nah. Listen,
All right.
man. The way that Mitchell Robinson is playing, when he gets in the game and he locks these guys down on the offensive rebounds, yeah, I know we're saying the perimeter defense is a little lack. It's been like that all year. Mike Brown is going to make the adjustment. He's been doing it all season. Yo, salute to Mike Brown. Hell of a season. Salute to him, man. Because you know what? A lot of fans have been saying Mike Brown hasn't been doing well for us. But I'm going to say he actually has been developing our players. I think Deuce has taken a step if he didn't get injured. Mitchell Robinson has taken a step. I mean, Cat hasn't really taken a step, but I think Cat has been in his own head all season. But I think there's multiple players. Jordan Clarkson, he put Jordan Clarkson on the bench to get him to wake up. He came back in the Jazz game, and now he's a scorer for us. Yo, Jordan Clarkson's going to be a big piece in the playoffs. And if we can put him in with Tyler Kolek in certain situations, that duo is disgusting. Tyler Kolek and Jordan Clarkson game is the best two-man off the bench duo in the NBA. Yo, say otherwise.
Yeah.
No,
let me throw a little caution in the wind. I agree. I think we should win. We should win in 5, max 6 games. But let me throw a little caution in the wind, because us as Knicks fans, we see the Knicks with Knick goggles. You know what I mean? It's like when you had one too many drinks and you have the beer goggles and you see the chick and you think that she's beautiful. You wake up the next day and she's not what you thought you was looking at. So I like to take a little bit more objective look at the opponent and try to think about paths for their victory, how they plan, how they could attack us, where our weaknesses are, etc. I see the Atlanta Hawks very similar to the way that the Pacers attacked us last year. This is a team that wants to get out in transition. They want to play fast. They are 9th in 3-point attempts per game and 8th in percentage since the All-Star break. They also are 5th in fewest 3-pointers allowed and 8th in opponent 3-point percentage in that same time frame. I think keys for us to victory are going to be the turnover battle. If you look at the 3 games that we played against them, I think they beat us in the turnover battle 2 out of those 3 games. And then also the rebounding battle is important. They have very good wing guard rebounders. You know who's the best guard rebounder, the number 1 guard rebounder in the NBA? Dyson Daniels. He is number 1. Total rebounds as a guard, he is the number 1 in this season. Higher than Josh Hart. This is total rebounds. And Jalen Johnson, obviously a great rebounder as well. And if you look at the last game when we squeaked by a win against them, we should have lost that game because we lost the turnover battle and we lost the rebounding battle. They were grabbing offensive rebounds on us and all that kind of stuff. So we need to make sure we win that, because in the playoffs, if you lose those, you're going to lose the game in the playoffs. That's just how it works. Another thing, you mentioned Okongwu, and a lot of people, not enough people are mentioning him. He's a kind of a threat. He dropped 31 on us, and then he dropped 20. Wait, he dropped 31 and 14 on us, and he dropped 23 and 9 on us. And then he had the only game he played bad was the last game when they lost. So he could be like an X factor. We have to make sure we take care of him and we don't like underestimate him. I think if you look at Brunson's numbers, he averaged like 30 against them. But if you look at the last game, he really wasn't doing well against them. He could potentially struggle with their length. I think this is a series where Cat really needs to shine, and he really needs to kill and buoy us to the victory. But I just want to throw a little caution to the wind and let you guys know, like, yo, these guys got their own weapons. They got a way they're going to attack us. They are like the number one transition team.
I hear you.
And they're going to try to push on us. So we aren't that good as a transition defense. So we got to make sure our transition defense is up to snuff and we're not turning that ball over, because down the stretch of the regular season, we were turning the ball over a lot, way too much. And so those are things that I'm kind of a little bit worried about.
Yeah. So this is what I want to say. First off, shout out to Joe. I really wish that I could wake up in the morning and instead of my alarm, Joe is just there to pump me up. Like, seriously, if I had a Joe for Siri, I would probably be jacked. I would wake up in the morning. I would spit like 6 eggs. I would start working out, and I would just be like the guy. Like, seriously, with that kind of like empowerment behind me, like the roof like would be torn off. Sky is the limit. Like Biggie Smalls lyrics every single morning. Sky's the limit. But
let's go.
Orange and blue skies are great, but I don't want to be delusional at the same time. I do not.
I hear you. I hear you, man. Listen.
I don't believe it's a sweep. And here's why. Because I truly believe in the saying, old habits die hard. And even though we're coming into what looks like beautiful basketball, we have struggled all season with old habits reappearing. Like we have. We've struggled with Jalen Brunson reverting back to old ways. And like I said, in those 3 games, the 2 that we won were when Jalen Brunson was selfless and inclusive in the offense. When they are able to lock down Jalen Brunson, it causes a lot of issues for the New York Knicks. And when do stars want to shine the brightest? When it matters the most, right?
Yeah.
Like when it matters the most. And so I'm hoping that Captain Clutch decides to be captain of the New York Knicks as opposed to Captain Clutch of the Jalen Brunson legacy, because they're 2 different things. One is building for a championship and one is building for a personal empire. And when we see Jalen Brunson build for a personal empire, we lose, like in those clutch moments. When we see Jalen Brunson building for a team championship is when we thrive. And that's what we need from Jalen Brunson in this series. So that's why I think for me, it's going to be harder than we think it is. Because a lot of times when we think that we're looking down at a team is when that team is looking up and fighting for everything and makes us eat our words. So for me, I think this game goes 6. I think it's Knicks in 6, not cliche because it rhymes, but because I think pride will eat us in a game or 2. It'll eat us in one game and their hunger will eat us in another. So I think it'll be Knicks in 6, but I think that we need to make sure, and I hope that it's not. Like, I hope I'm wrong, because like I said, their like physicality, but also their speed is going to drain this team.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up in 5. We really should.
We are not a fast team. That's why Mike Brown, shout out to him, he had to pivot from his plan of being a fast-paced team, because even though he wanted to, there's no way Big Body Cat and Big Head Brunson were going to be able to run a fast team. It just wasn't going to happen. Like, it just didn't work. So he pivoted. But this team is a fast-paced team, and they're aggressive, and they're tall. And so if you go 6 games with them, that's going to make you more exhausted for the next series.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want. I don't want the Knicks to be beat up in the series.
We
So
got the
for
Celtics
me-
next. So
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
So for me, the most important thing is ball movement and also utilizing everyone at their strengths. This is a series that we need to utilize double bigs. Why?
Yeah.
Because Mitch is way too
Oh, yeah, for
dominant
sure.
for any of them to handle. And if Mitch is the dominant guy at the 5, that frees up Cat to do more damage at the 4. I don't believe Cat is physical enough to be dominant at the 5 against the Hawks. But I do think he's dominant enough to be physical at the 4, which makes them have to double team him at times, which will leave OG and Mikhail open a lot more if Cat is at the 4. So for me, I think this is going to be more so a JB must be selfless series, but also a Mike Brown needs to utilize the best lineups possible. This is a lineup that you want to see Mo Diawara minutes because they can't double team because of the height. So I think it comes down to more of a physicality thing than anything. Someone was backstage and they disappeared. What the heck just happened? Where's the infamous Nick? Where you at? Come back up. I want to hear what you got to say. And so shout out right here to Unk. He said, pace of the game is key. Hawks want to play up-tempo. If they do that, they will win. Knicks need to keep it at half-court game, and they will win. That's true. That's exactly what I said earlier. When the Knicks won, it was based off of keeping the game half-court. So that's why Mitchell Robinson matters. You know, those offensive rebounds. Because if they get offensive rebounds, they're off to the races, and then we're screwed. So we got to make sure that that's not a factor. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my guy up. The infamous Nick is going to join the panel as well. What up, what up, what up?
Good evening, gentlemen. How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on.
Of course, brother. How you been?
Bro.
Doing good, man. Just excited. It's I started the season when I was with Knicks and Nish, and I told them, this is the season of destiny. This is the season that most of us have all waited our whole lives for. And it's now time to put up or shut up now. We Knicks fans have been suffering for a long time. And I'm excited. Look, I hear everything that you guys are saying. But I'm going to stick to my guns here. Knicks in 5, gentlemen sweep. I think it'll be a tough series. I think there'll be close games, but I just don't see how Atlanta, position for position, bench for bench, talent for talent, is going to be able to sustain, number 1, Jalen Brunson, number 2, Karl-Anthony Towns, and number 3, the rest of the Knicks.
Mitchell Robinson. Amen, man.
Mitchell Robinson. Here's the thing about the Atlanta Hawks. I think that they're 1,000 times better now than they were when they had Trae Young, which is crazy because now they really don't have a point guard, to kind of help facilitate. I mean, yes, CJ McCollum is a nice addition, but for Johnson and for Alexander to actually be effective, I think they lack that, and we have that in spades. We have 3 talented point guards in Jalen Brunson, Tyler Kolek, and Jose Alvarado. They're going to have a hard time just keeping up with those guys alone. Then you add the fact that you have the 7-foot Karl-Anthony Towns and 7'1" Mitchell Robinson down low. They really don't have an answer, to cover up the paint. So I don't see how they're going to be able to sustain it. Yes, they can get up and down in transition. Here's a problem with that. The Knicks are, even though you guys mentioned it a little while ago that the Knicks do turn the ball over, and they kind of do, but they're among one of the league's best at protecting the basketball, especially in the fourth quarter. So if this game gets close, within 5, under 5, now you have to really play the game of measures, and the war of attrition is just too heavily in favor of the Knicks as a team, as a unit. And my boy Mentality mentioned this on my Spaces last night, and it's mind-boggling to me. Saturday night will mark 27 years since the last time a Knicks team ran it back with the same core 5, 6, 7, 8 players for the second consecutive year. Year after year, the Knicks have been having turnover after turnover after turnover, whether it's the coach, whether it's the personnel. This is the first time they ran it back, and this is a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy walk there. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think that that getting past Atlanta is going to be easy. I definitely know that it's not going to be getting past Boston will be easy, and if we make it that far, I don't think getting past Detroit will be easy. But here's the thing that that keeps me having the faith, that keeps me preaching, and I'm gonna have a state of the Knickerbocker Nation video eventually, hopefully before Saturday. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that there's a team that can stop us. When we're on our best, there's not a team that can stop us. There's not a team that can hang with us. You can talk about how the Knicks have performed over the last month against teams with winning records. The Knicks are 29-12 really overall throughout the entire season with teams that are with winning records. Yeah. So yes, they've had stumbling blocks. Yes, they have this Jekyll and Hyde roller coaster, kind of vibe. But you tell me what team doesn't. The only thing is that it doesn't get as publicized enough because let's be realistic. Which is the largest city in the world? New York. Which is the largest fan base in the NBA? The New York Knicks. Then then everyone goes on beyond underneath that. Everything here gets magnified by 1,000. So obviously the Knicks' glaring issues are just going to be more glaringly obvious because there's just more eyeballs. There's going to be more opinions. There's going to be more ideas. There's going to be more perceptions, and there's going to be more criticism. So I don't think. If you watch basketball, and I know everybody on this panel does, and I know everybody that follows me, and you watch basketball, when the Knicks are on their best, tell me who can beat them. Nobody. Not the Celtics, not the Pistons, not the Thunder, not the Nuggets. Nobody. And that's basically how you're going to have to look at it. Now, can the Knicks stay consistent for 4 out of 7 this series and 4 out of 7 in the following series? That remains to be seen. But Phil, you're absolutely right. If the captain is captain of the Knicks and not captain of his legacy, and just trying to be, bully ball, big body Brunson like Big Perk likes to talk about. Hold on, I'm going to show it to you. There goes 1. There goes 2. And right here is where number 3 is coming.
Where's the NBA Cup one, man? Where's the NBA Cup one?
Dude, if they don't have it, why am I gonna have it?
All right. So this is what I'm saying. I love your passion.
Coming.
I love your
It's
zeal.
coming.
Like I love it. I love your passion and your zeal. But to answer your question, what team you were saying? What team can who does have the consistency? There is teams. You look at the Pistons. The Pistons, even without Cade Cunningham, were pretty consistent without their number 1 guy. Okay? That is the picture of consistency. The Boston Celtics, without Jason Tatum, their number 1 star last year, found a way to not just be consistent, but to be elite this season. To have their guys who were role players last year become their starters and take them to the number 2 position. That's consistency. OKC, consistent. Spurs, consistent.
Yeah,
so there are consistent teams out there. The problem that I have, as much as I love my New York Knicks, the problem is up until these last 3 games, it was like watching the Knicks was like going into a box of Cracker Jacks. You had no clue if the toy that you were going to pull out of there was a stupid stamp or something that was actually worthwhile. You did not know what was going to show up. And
didn't know if it was the ring or the kazoo.
Exactly. And that was the frustrating part. And so my whole thing is I feel like the inconsistency that we've seen in the season either was what I talked about earlier, either Kat and JB were kind of trying to throw a wrench in the works for other teams, and they've actually had this down for a while, and we're just now seeing what they already knew that they can do. And that would be like a straight up 1-2 punch on teams in the playoffs. Or it took them this long to actually buy in. And that's because their pride and egos have gotten in the way. And I think that's an issue, because if you are looking at it and going, oh man, the Hawks are nothing, like we're up here, the Hawks are down here. What happens when the Knicks play down to their competition? We lose. Like so many times when the Knicks, they're above somebody, we've gotten upset because we lost. And so my whole thing is, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I think it'll be 6 because I think like our pride is going to get in the way of one of them and their talent is going to get them another, because they are a talented team.
So that's one of the things that I come back to that I want to see the Knicks do. And that is, in the words of my man, the Loopy blogger, I want to see the Knicks bully the F up. Okay, you see my man Mason right there. I need the Knicks to have that killer instinct. Okay, we had a long playoff run last year. We made some mistakes, like we let the Detroit Pistons series drag 6 games, right? And that came to bite us when we played the Pacers in the ECF. They ran us out the gym. We were tired. Let's not make that mistake again. Can we learn from that? And then can Mike Brown? I look at that killer instinct as something that comes from your coach and your leader to drive that killer instinct, that bully mentality into the team. And I don't Mike Brown is such a nice guy. Like, I don't see, and he has a military background. I need him to tap into that military background, and we need to dog walk teams on the way to the ECF if we can. Like, and the Hawks present an opportunity, but if we slack, this can go 6. I don't want that for us.
Here's where I'll push back on that. I don't think this is a Mike Brown thing. Because you talked about like military, you got to be that. Here's the thing. Military knows the idea of those who bark the loudest have the least amount of bite. Like, that's just the truth. You know, you can be aggressive, you can be angry, you can be this and that, but you still ain't going to do nothing. Like, how many Twitter reels have you spent on like rabbit trails just watching people where the title of it is bully talks all this trash and then gets smoked by a white boy that weighs 60 pounds? You know, like, all those videos are hilarious because the person who was talking the most got destroyed. It was the person that moved in silence that was the actual executor. And I think that's Mike Brown. My whole thing about why I don't think we will get it in 6 is because what I'm hoping and praying is what I said earlier in the show, that our team, what we've seen in the last 3 games, they've known that this is going to work. They've known that this Jalen Brunson and Cat performance that we've seen over these last few weeks, they've known that they can execute that in royalty and in excellence, but they've chosen not to because they wanted to wait to the playoffs to really unleash this new level on everybody. And it's like a sneak attack. That's what I'm hoping. And if that's the case, then yeah, 4 or 5, cool. But my scary thing is like, I'm thinking more so what I'm hoping and trying to think more realistic. Like, okay, but what we saw in 82 games was not really that. So either what I'm hoping is real or a fantasy. And if it's a fantasy, we're going to see 1 or 2 games where Jalen Brunson or Cat get that like ego persona and cost us the game. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong and that what I've seen these last few games is who the Knicks really are. And if that's who they really are, then we can gentlemen sweep a team. But I'm scared of old habits dying hard and us seeing a game where we're like, Jalen Brunson, pass the freaking ball, where my 8-year-old is saying, are your eyes closed, Jalen? Cat's open. And like, I'm like, my 8-year-old, why does Jalen Brunson see it? Why does the captain not see what my 8-year-old sees? You know? So that's my thought right there.
Crazy. You guys mentioned the military. Of course, I went to go grab my old cover. This is my actual cover from like when I was in. I served in the United States Marine Corps for 5 years.
Salute. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. And Phil, you were mentioning how those funny videos about the one that's wilding out and is usually the one that gets punked. Try to pull a punk card and gets his bomb punched. I don't think that it has to do with with it being a punk card with the Knicks, because I don't think if you look at the difference between last year and this year, I think any Knicks fan will tell you that last year the Knicks, personality-wise, last year showed you that they were not going to get punked. As the brother just mentioned, the reason we lost last year is because we ran out of gas. By the time we got to the Pacers, and the Pacers just running up and down the court, at free will. I don't think you're going to have that same problem this year, because obviously you see that Brown is willing to go into the bench. He's willing to go up to 9 to 10 deep if need be. You have enough weapons and enough fresh legs that now you don't have to tax OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. You don't have to spell them for 45 minutes. You don't have to keep Josh Hart, for pretty much the entire game, as Thibodeau did last year. Not to say that it was to his detriment, but let's be realistic. By the time the Eastern Conference Finals came around, they were gassed. You can't expect them to play 45 minutes when they're playing 13, 14 different guys. That's not going to happen. I don't think you're going to run into that same issue this year. Now, with the consistency thing that you were just mentioning, that's absolutely key, because when the biggest issue that was last year is that what did the Knicks do when Jalen Brunson's off the court? Now that you have answers to that, you have a Karl-Anthony Towns that you can funnel the offense through. You have OG Anunoby coming into his own. And you already know, given Mikal Bridges has not been performing, he's pretty much of a letdown this entire season offensively. He's only had maybe, a handful of good games where we can say, that's the Mikal Bridges we traded 5 picks for.
Yeah.
But I do think that with the system that is in place, it's still perfectly designed for Mikal Bridges to operate that mid, as long as he's not being tasked to defend primarily the point of attack. You have enough guys that can attack the point of attack on the offense. So now that you have OG Anunoby, you have Mikal Bridges, you have Josh Hart, you have a Mohamed Diawara you could throw at him, and then you also have Jose Alvarado, being GTA, Grand Theft Alvarado. You always got to be sure where the hell on the floor he is at. I think that there's just enough. This team has a different character and a different vibe. Yes, it's a little bit hard to swallow sometimes, because we fell in love so heavily with the team of last year because of their grit and their moxie and their the never die attitude. But I think this team is a little bit more talented. They have a different identity. They have a different, and let's be realistic. Statistically speaking, you already know the numbers. I don't think I have to go into that. Top 5 in offense, top 8 in defense, best fourth quarter team over the last 3 months. This team is primed. It's a matter of, I think Phil mentioned it perfectly, if they don't play down to the competition, as my sister would say, play with their food. And if they take care of business, gentlemen sweep, bring on Boston.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We're talking numbers. I also want to talk numbers. We talked about how we lost to Boston. Okay. I mean, how we lost to the Pacers was pace. The Hawks were number 4 in pace all season. You want to know where the Knicks are in pace?
Dead last.
We're at the bottom.
Out of 30.
Yeah.
27th out of 30.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I don't think it's going to be a sweep, because pace alone is an advantage of them by 23 teams. Like, it's a drastic difference. It's not like they're 18 and we're 27. They are number 4 in pace, and we are number 27 in pace. So I think in 1 or 2 games, that's at least going to play a factor. And like I said, I think we still win the series, but I think that we go in there a little bit exhausted, because I think it's going to go 5 or 6. I think 6 personally. I'd love it to go 5. But this is my hope right here, and I'll share this screen real quick. This is what I'm hoping is the case. My guy Knicks Recap had the same thoughts as I did, that maybe Mike Brown had this plan all along. And I talked about this earlier. You hear Jalen Brunson's tone when it comes to this interview, and it makes you think that he and Kat have been kind of playing a little bit incognito on how well they know that this is going to work. So here we go.
Incognito.
I like that. Yeah, I didn't see this, so yeah, I want to see this.
Well, do you think
Look at that start.
it's an effective play that maybe should have been utilized a little bit earlier?
Very effective play.
Okay.
Look at that start.
Two-man game with Brunson's really taken off the last two games. Is there a reason why
I
it's
can't
been-
even look.
Bro, they've been holding
Right.
it in the
That's
pocket.
crazy.
They've been
He
practicing
can't
this
even
all
look
year,
at the
bro.
camera.
They've
So
been
let's finish
saving
this. Let's finish this.
so much better, so effective?
I just think that we've had good combos in the days, and you know those combos are showing up in the game, especially in the last two and the fourth quarter. You know when things get
My man Cat,
high
my man
pressure
Cat got the look on his
situations,
face like I don't
leaned
know
on
shit.
each other.
He looks like he's trying
He's saying
to.
I don't know shit. I know
He's trying to
nada.
say I'm not guilty, yet I know every single thing that happened
right,
in the
right,
scenario.
right.
Here we
They
go.
and trusted each other in those situations, and it's been very good for our team. So, you know, shout out to JB and shout out to the guys on the team trusting us in those situations. Always had a great relationship. Me and JB have always been, we've always been good, you know, and we've always been good. So, the ability for us to have open and honest communication
So
and conversations.
you know what this reel reminds me of? You ever come across one of those reels on social media where it's like the girl or the guy get caught cheating and they're trying to like be like, nah, this girl that doesn't have anything on right now that's completely blurred out in this video, like she's just a friend. Like we're here just hanging out. Like nothing's going on. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, how do you think you're getting away with this?
Phil,
Body-
allow me to take it to the bodega for a second and just say, that's not me.
That's not
I
me.
live on the high
Right.
floor. That's it.
That's no
Yo,
me.
body
That's no
language,
me.
body language, and eyes was telling it all. Like, I mean, that was just yelling, yelling out loud what they already knew.
Exactly.
Yo, Tone,
like
do
that,
you
that
have
to me,
what? Oh, my bad. I was gonna ask Tone because he kind of didn't jump in on this one yet. Like, what are your biggest? Because we all like think the Knicks are gonna win in 5 or 6, but like, what are some concerns that you may have with the series? I think you might have mentioned a couple of things when I stepped away, like the fast break points and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly. So again, it's kind of around the 3-point shooting. That's my number one concern. The double teaming on Brunson. Again, that's my concern, and overplaying Brunson. So if, again, to your point, we want to utilize him efficiently throughout this series. However, if they start doubling him and he's inefficient, he can't get the ball down the court. We're going to have to play off the ball, throughout the season. I think throughout the playoffs, honestly, because throughout the season, I feel like all teams, most teams have doubled up on Brunson. So. And he's been inefficient when they do that. He's honestly not an efficient play at all. And then he dribbles a lot. So I just want to see him move the ball when those situations come in. As Phil said earlier, just put the team first. That's gonna be key. And then one other note I want to mention, the bench as well. So I was thinking about Alvarado. We're talking about the lob. So I'm sorry. Actually, let me take a step back. There was a note. I was thinking about Towns at the 4. So what I do like about Towns at the 4 is, yes, I definitely agree. He can be more efficient in that role, particularly since it's going to open up Lob City for Mitch Robb, because I feel like that is going to be the key right there. We've seen it at the end of the season, Alvarado to Mitch, Brunson to Mitch. That Lob City seems to be coming back. So I really hope they can utilize that with that double big lineup, particularly in this playoff series.
Yeah. And one thing that like I love about what you were talking about is it's not hate for Jalen Brunson at all, because he's my favorite player on the team. But you got to look at certain things. Like what made him so untouchable before was teams could not figure out how to stop him. Like his leg work was something that people did not expect. Like his footwork was insane. But footwork when you're 1-on-1 against a defender, as opposed to if you're 2-on-1 against the defender, is a completely different story. And then you add height to the demographic as well. Now, not only are you having to be creative with your footwork, but you also have to be creative on what you do with your shot. Like if you got a guy that's 6 inches taller than you or 4 inches taller than you on defense, and then another guy who comes that's 5-6 inches taller than you, now it's a really rough situation. And that's when we've seen Jalen Brunson struggle. And that's why I'm saying my hope, my prayer to my Lord Jesus Christ is that Cat and JB have been kind of hiding their ace underneath their sleeve. Kind of like I feel like when we watched that interview, neither of them wanted to admit it. It was like a Shaggy, it wasn't me 90s moment, like that's what I felt like watching those interviews were. It's like, caught me in the shower, it wasn't me. That's JB and Cat were in that video.
Yo, we laugh about this, but like keeping stuff in the back pocket is a real thing. Remember last year, Tibbs played drop ad nauseum. We play against the Celtics, and he switches deep. He plays switch defense out of nowhere. Like, dude didn't play that the whole year, and we lost to the Celtics the whole year. And then he just go. And I'm telling you, Mike Brown was watching the whole Knicks thing and how it unfolded, and he's like, "Yo, this is how I'm going to approach the regular season. This is how I'm going to approach the bench. I'm not going to show these wrinkles until the postseason." So that and look, and he's also been in his own playoff stuff. He's been around crazy minds like Popovich and Steve Kerr, and he's probably seen the way that they approach these different things. And so he's probably taken things from them, and he's like, "Yo, this is how I got to approach the whole thing in its entirety. Like, whatever, we'll get 53 wins. Getting 60 wins isn't the goal, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. The goal is to win the chip." So I'm hopeful that he has kept something in his back pocket. It seems like he has, and I just can't wait, man. I can't wait.
That's my hope. That's my hope is like we get there, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, the Knicks just got 42 assists in the game. Like, what is going on? JB, most of his shots off ball. Like, let's see that for sure.
Yes.
Without further ado, he ain't got his camera on real quick, but I want to bring on one of the newest members of the KOT family, Mr. Ra himself of the Knicks Life Crisis. He's going to come on up. Al's co-host, assist or host, whatever they do it together. Of the Knicks Life Crisis, 40-year-old men talking about dad life and Knicks basketball. Let's get his thoughts. What up? What up? What up?
Yo, what up, fellas? How's your night going so far?
Oh man, it's beautiful. How's yours?
It's been good. I got to meet up with a couple of buddies. I was telling them about Nick of Time. Super excited to be joining you guys. Me and Al, we've been doing this for 2 years now, so we're still new to the game compared to you guys, but it's been a lot of fun, and we don't always agree on stuff, but we all agree we want to see the Knicks win a championship. So however we get there, we get there.
Yep. So right now we're talking about, this Hawks series. What are your thoughts? Like how many games do you think that it takes for the Knicks to put away the Hawks?
I love that question because I've been losing sleep over it, so I'm glad we get to talk about it tonight. I gotta go. Mike Brown. Listen, Al knows how I feel about Mike Brown, but I want to really feel like this is something that's a real thing for us this year. I want to see Knicks in 5. I want to see us handle business in 5. I know it's a stretch. A lot of things have to break right for us, but we got to set the tone in the first round. We got to show that we're the real deal. You can't be burning energy with these guys when you got the Celtics ahead of you. And, even if it's the Pistons, if we get to the ECF, that's a physical series. We need Mitch Robinson. And it does not happen if we're playing 7 games in the first round because it's a slippery slope and we have a tough matchup, but we have the talent. The question is, do we have the coaching? And, if I drink enough, we have the coaching, but if I'm not drinking enough, I'm very, very concerned.
All right, so let me ask you this, because I know you're a little bit of a Mike Brown
disclaimer, Ra is not a Mike Brown fan, if you couldn't tell.
You're a little bit of a Mike
Brown.
Really?
You think?
He's what you would call a Mike Brown hater.
Let's say.
Yes, I'm a hater in general. I'm a Tibbs
Tell him how you
hater.
really
I was a
feel.
Mike Brown hater. I stay hating.
All right.
Oh, damn.
All right, Mr. Haterade. All right, let me ask you this real quick. Let's say the series goes 6, right?
Yes.
And in the 4 games that we win, we all bought into the Mike Brown system. And the 2 games that we lost is because Jalen Brunson reverts back to ISO ball. Do you put the criticism where it deserves to be, or do you continue to blame Mike Brown?
Oh man, it's a
It's
leading
obvious.
question. It's a leading question, and it's a great
No, it's not.
question.
If 4 games that we win are obvious that we bought into the Mike Brown pass the freaking ball, drive, spray it out, or pick and pop system, and we win those 4 games, and the 2 games we lose are because Jalen Brunson plays hero ball, and all of a sudden the PSI on the basketball is super low, and they have to refuel it up every possession because Brunson dribbled the air out of it. Do you put the blame where it belongs?
So if Brunson is dribbling the air out of the ball, and we lose those 2 games, do I put the blame where it belongs?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Nope. I'm still gonna blame Mike Brown. I'm going down with Jalen Brunson, baby.
All right. So we have officially brought on our first delusional New York Knicks content creator in the KOT family. All right.
No, Phil, it's a fair question. I'm just playing. Like, look, obviously, I hope it doesn't come to that, but I'm a, after so many decades of watching really tough point guard situations in New York, I can't. It's a hard thing for me to hate it on Jalen Brunson. But yes, I hope he doesn't dribble the air out of the ball. I hope we run the pick and roll. I hope the ball moves. But come on, I mean, I'm going with Jalen Brunson all day over Mike
That's
Brown.
crazy though. Like at the end of the day, are you a fan of the New York Knicks or are you a fan of Jalen Brunson? If Jalen Brunson gets traded in the offseason to LA, are you going to buy a Laker jersey? Or are you going to
Hell
still
no!
be
Come
down?
on, Phil. This is supposed to be a friendly first call. Of course, I'm not going to. Come on.
Here's the thing,
I'm going to
bro.
buy a
Welcome
Laker
to the
jersey.
squad.
Come on, man.
That's blasphemy in this room.
Never. I would never do anything like that. I would never go against the Knicks. But I do love Jalen Brunson. He's a top 3 Knick for me for sure, all time already. And so, look, I hope he brings us a championship. And
All right,
of course, I'm New York all the way.
My favorite Knick of all time, John Starks. Guess what? I still blame John Starks for us losing and him kind of ghosting a bit in the playoffs when we needed him.
2 for 18 will haunt us forever.
Exactly.
I can't agree with you more.
So
But
I can say he is my favorite Knick of all time, and in the same breath, also put blame where it belongs. I do not blame the coach. I do not.
Yes, I do.
Doing.
I do.
Oh, come
I do.
on.
2 for 18 is criminal, bro.
2 for 18, knowing full well that he was shooting 2 for 18. Pat Riley should have made the decision and made the big boy decision and pulled him out. You could have pulled out. You could have brought in Ronaldo Balkman. He could have put in Greg Anthony. He could have put in Hubert Davis. He could have brought in anybody. But when the guy's shooting 2 for 18, at 2 for 10, that's when you start to think about, no, you don't give the guy 8 more shots.
I love that you guys say that, but I bet you all of my money that if we are in a playoff game and Mike Brown pulled Jalen Brunson on a game that he was shooting poor, you would all say, how the heck do you not have Captain Clutch in the game in the 4th quarter?
You can limit his minutes. You can limit his minutes. You don't have to pull him out for the whole game, but you can limit his minutes.
I'm never taking.
Not with the 4th quarter though. We would complain if it was the 4th quarter. We would definitely
y'all
argue.
crazy. Y'all
we would still complain. We would still complain, but
this is straight up revisionist history for Jalen Brunson love. Straight up.
Yo, Phil, Tone has to go. Just let him say his.
Tone, do me a favor. Plug your channel. Plug where people can find you. And thank you so much, as always, for being on the channel.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys, and always a pleasure. Just wanted to say real quick, check me out on Facebook, Tony Tone's Real Talk, and I'll be going live, guys, on from the Garden on Saturday. So I'll be at the game, so live streaming from the game.
Hey,
So
let's
for
go.
those that can't attend the game, I'll give you a bit of flavor from inside. So hopefully you can check it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Again, Tony
Checking
Tone's
that
Real
out for
Talk on
sure.
Facebook. Check me out, guys.
I'll be at the game
Thanks
too.
again
We
for the
should meet up.
opportunity. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yes, please do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you.
That was Rod. That was
Hopefully
Rod.
connect. Yeah, I'm gonna look out for you for sure.
I'll find you for sure. Awesome.
Together.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Tone,
You
do
will have
me
a blessed
favor.
night.
Yo, peace, Tone.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes, yes.
Shoot me your number in a message, and I'll put you and Ron in a chat together.
Got you. Say less.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. God bless, bro.
Have a blessed one. Be well.
Peace. All
Yo,
right.
so there's some, you know how there's some players that are like they're deemed coach killers, like LeBron.
Like Dwight Howard.
Ra is a coach killer. He's a fan coach killer. He killed Tibbs, and now he wants to kill Mike Brown too.
I mean, I was killing Tibbs last year, man. So I'm with Rob for the Tibbs thing, to be honest.
I'm done with you killing Tibbs, but here's the thing.
This is the greatest podcast I've ever been a part of already. Thank you.
What's crazy is
Al. Bro.
you're
Go on
killing
mute.
Bill Brown, who has done all the things that we were upset that Tibbs didn't do. That's the crazy thing to me. That's like straight up going, man, I don't really like this girlfriend because she's only 5'3", and I really want a girl that's 5'8". And she got blonde hair, but I really wish she was a brunette. And then all of a sudden, you start dating a brunette who's 5'8", and you're like, you know what? What I don't like about this girl is that she's not 5'3". And I really wish that she was a blonde. Like, what the frick are you talking about, bro?
Maybe you just need a 5'6" redhead. You don't know, bro. You don't know what until you got what you're looking for.
I hope you find your ginger.
Or Puerto Rican, yes.
Or
We can all agree.
Puerto Rican.
Yes. Yes, the give back. Yes, yes.
Or
So
maybe-
exactly,
or-
we don't know
or
what we
maybe-
don't have
well,
yet,
maybe just
and you
looking-
can't
you're
tell me
looking
I
in the
got
wrong
to
pool.
decide
Maybe
on
you need to
love between
Dude, at
Tibbs
that point-
and Mike Brown.
At that point, Phil, if it doesn't work out with the Puerto Rican, you might just go for a 6'1" black dude.
Oh yeah, Papa. Listen. As a Puerto Rican, no offense to Puerto Rican women because there's some amazing ones out there. But as a Puerto Rican man, having a Puerto Rican grandmother, a Puerto Rican mother, Puerto Rican aunts, Puerto Rican cousins, I said, no, senor, I do not want to marry a Puerto Rican woman.
Hey, hold on. I got a Puerto Rican girlfriend. Hold on, bro.
Are you
I just had
Puerto
a
Rican?
baby with a Puerto Rican.
Are you Puerto Rican?
I'm Dominican.
That's
I'm
fine.
Dominican.
Then. That's fine
I'm
then.
I'm Dominican
you didn't
too,
marry
so-
a Dominican, right? You didn't marry a Dominican, right?
No,
You have a
no.
Dominican mama. You have a Dominican grandma. You know,
Okay, I
it's
get
different. All right. So let me ask you this, Rob. All right.
Yeah.
We get to the NBA Finals further than the Knicks have ever gotten.
All
You
right.
eat your words about Mike Brown, or you keep going with the haterade?
Nah, he'll eat his words.
I mean words. I mean words, bro.
All
I'm
right,
buying
bro.
a Mike Brown. If Mike Brown gives me a championship, I'm buying a Mike Brown jersey. I'll hang a picture of him in my living room. All right? Like I'll eat all my words. I don't care. Give me a
This is
championship.
what I'm gonna do.
I'm
If we
dying
get
to be
the
wrong.
finals-
I hope I'm wrong.
If we get to the finals, I'm gonna fly up there with a thing of Campbell's alphabet soup,
Oh
and
God,
it's
don't.
just gonna say Mike Brown inside the soup the whole time. Every single spoon you get is gonna say Mike Brown over and over and over again, and I'm
You
gonna
know
make
what?
you actually eat your words, literally.
I can't wait to pick you up from the airport. I hope that happens. That sounds great.
You might as well do alphabet cereal too. That'll probably
That'd be
like-
amazing. I hope I get to eat alphabet soup.
Joe,
Listen,
Joe,
I
what are
want to
your
love
thoughts,
Mike
Joe?
Brown, bro. I want to love Mike Brown.
Joe, what are
I'm
your
not trying to
thoughts,
hate.
Joe, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
What are your thoughts, bro?
Well, yeah, for me and the Mike Brown thing, like I gotta rewind here, man, because I automatically think about last year, or not last year. Yeah, last year with Tibbs, man, and I'm just thinking like, yo, I was jumping up and down during the regular season about DeLon Wright. I know you guys probably didn't like him, but I was like, yo, this DeLon Wright guy, man.
Yeah.
I was like, yo,
He's
he can
okay.
help us. Like, he's a good point guard. Like, we should Tibbs. Like, you got to start opening up your bench a little bit, putting some of these other guys. Because even Shamit, I was like, Shamit, Huck Porter, like, these guys can help us. And then the playoffs come, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Tibbs is going to turn it around. Tibbs is going to start using the bench. He's going to put in DeLon. He's going to put in Shamit. He's going to put in Huck Porter, and we're going to be fine. The Detroit series comes, and he didn't really use any of them. And I'm like, I'm like scratching my head, like, yo, Tibbs, like, we got to, it's getting a little late. We should have been using these guys already. And then by the time the Pacers series shows up, we don't have any of our bench guys ready to go. And DeLon didn't play, and Shamit wasn't really playing. I'm like, yo, these guys can help us. Like, where's it at, Tibbs? And right at that moment, I was screaming. I'm like, yo, I hate Tibbs. Like, get him out of here. I need a new coach. And then Mike Brown came here, and it was like, yo, this guy's playing the bench. This guy will put Shamit in the game. And you know what else? He's going to develop our young guys. He's developing Kolek. He's developing Diawara. I'm even seeing Kevin McCullough minutes out of nowhere. And Kevin McCullough looks awesome. I'm like, yo, who's this? Who's this guy?
We don't win the cup without Kevin McCullough Jr. I said that 100 times. We don't win that cup without him.
And then for Mike Brown to put Jordan Clarkson on the bench because of his defense, and he doesn't do it for anyone else because we're all playing bad defense. This is a team sport. If you're going to put one guy on the bench for playing bad defense, you should put someone else on the bench for playing bad defense. But Jordan Clarkson got another shot. It was the Jazz game. And when Jordan Clarkson came back in that game, it was like a homecoming for him. For me, man, that was the time when it all clicked for Jordan Clarkson. He felt like he was part of the team again. He was another one of the guys, and he was lighting it up. And then from there, he's been having awesome games. And I'm like, yo, Mike Brown. Like,
he's been playing D.
Yeah. Well, dude.
And he's rebounding.
Yep.
Man, and he was scoring at will in the paint. And I was just loving everything I was seeing from Jordan Clarkson. And I give Mike Brown props for putting him back in the game, for putting him back in the lineup to help us.
If that was Tibbs, he would have been banished.
Exactly.
He would have been traded.
But let me say one more thing before I'll let someone else go, because I don't like to hog the mic. I think the same exact thing now for the playoffs is going to be true with Jeremy Sohan. I think we have a gem in the rut, and I think he's going to take a leap in the playoffs, and he's going to help us in certain situations. If Mike Brown can realize what he has in Sohan and can use him in the right minutes, he doesn't have to play 20. If he can play 10 to 12 minutes and give me 10 points in 10 minutes, we're going to win every single game this playoffs. Straight up.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree.
So this is what I want to say. For this, before we start closing out, I want to ask just you, Ra. I want to ask you, what were the main three things you hated about Tom Thibodeau?
Top three things I hated about Tom Thibodeau. One, I think, was I was on the Minute Please bandwagon. I really hated that we just didn't test anything out in the regular season, and that we kept to overplaying our starters. Two, I didn't like
on that
the
hold on. On that first one.
Sure.
Are our starters' minutes significantly down this season?
Yes.
I think
Yes, they are.
Yes.
They are.
Okay. Great.
Yes. And your hate on Tibbs about lack of testing rotations. Have we seen Mike Brown throw in so many rotations throughout the season to see what works and what doesn't work? Some that we were like, that didn't work, but like he at least tried them.
Yeah, we did. Okay. But right. Can I okay. Let me know if can I give you a full statement on that?
Sure.
So we did see way more rotations, and Mike Brown. So I want to also say Mike Brown deserves credit for coaching us to an in-season championship tournament, because I thought that was a huge win for us, and I celebrated that. And I called Al about that, and I was like, this is awesome, and I was glad we won. And so Mike Brown deserves props for that. He really does. Now, he also extended our rotations, and I'm really glad he did. However, I have had a real problem with Cat playing center, the number of minutes he has played center. And I feel like he should have done more to experiment and figure out a way to bring Diawara into the playoff rotation for us because size is very important. And right now, the 8-man rotation includes Deuce and Shamit. When I think
And
when we
Clarkson.
play Josh Hart and Cat together, it's a big problem. And our net lineup rating for our starting lineup, which we're going into the playoffs with, is a concern for size and defensive interior presence. And so
Yes.
that's why I worry about Mike Brown the most in his rotations because we're not leaning towards size in a size heavy conference and that's what concerns me about him.
Yeah. So my
My
question on that is, are we more concerned about Mitchell Robinson being available for the postseason or the regular season?
Fair postseason.
oh yeah.
Okay. So wouldn't it be genius and wise of a coach to make sure that Mitchell Robinson is ready, but also available in the postseason? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And and have we not seen him at least in the regular season give those 2 minutes together in multiple games to show what it could look like for those two to play together so that when they do come in the playoffs and play together, it's not the first time that they experience that dichotomy.
He's done it very sparingly.
I,
So
I, I see where you're leading the witness, and you're right. But how's this for one quick counter? When has Mike Brown been extremely smart in the playoffs as a head coach in his history as a head coach?
So this is where I would say you need to spend time watching the KOT breakdown of the Sacramento series because it wasn't lack of Mike Brown being smart. It was lack of Mike Brown actually having an arsenal that can compete against a legendary Steph Curry in the playoff series. It wasn't Mike Brown being an like inadequate coach, but playing with what you have with an inexperienced team from a guy who has led their team to multiple victories, and that's where the pain came through. So I would tell you to watch that series and see that yes, there were shortcomings there, but this is a guy that went from coaching as an assistant to actually now coaching his own team against the Warriors that were already elite and had that playoff experience. So that's where he got kicked in the teeth. What I would say is the Knicks have had actually easier playoff experiences under Tom Thibodeau to make it to the second round and Eastern Conference Finals and got outmatched when it mattered against teams that we should have beat talent.
Yeah, we were favorites. We were favorites.
Favorites. We should have kicked the Pacers in the teeth. Yet it was completely about coaching, and Carlisle destroyed Thibodeau when it came to coaching, regardless of the talent that was on the team. So Mike Brown has at least given us what it would look like to see Cat and Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs. And like I said, the team's whole goal was to make sure that Mitchell Robinson was available for the playoffs because at the end of the day, they knew whether or not he played heavy minutes in the season or not, that our team was good enough to go into the playoffs. If we would have had a bunch of Huck Porty minutes where Huck Porty would have a game where he looked okay, and then a game that was like, why are you even on the court? If we wasted all those minutes with 5, our record would not be what it is right now. We would not be number 3 in the East if we were using all those minutes for Huck Porty to be the 5 and Cat to be the 4. So I push on that.
I completely agree with the importance of managing Mitchell Robinson's minutes because I do think that Mitchell Robinson is our ceiling. And so if I hope you're right. I hope that is the plan. I hope like Mike Brown is a absolute genius that has to unleash Mitchell Robinson for the playoffs because I absolutely love Mitch Robinson minutes and I think we get the most out of Cat. Also, when he gets to play with Mitch Robinson for certain periods of time. So here's hoping, man. I agree. And look, I like Mike Brown more than I like Tom Thibodeau. I do.
Yeah.
So,
So the thing is,
so I'm happy with that progress. But is Mike Brown like my coach of choice? No. Do you think is better?
You cut out.
Brown? And
You
so I'm
cutting
worried
out.
about that.
There you go.
well,
Oh, sorry.
here's one thing I would say.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
So when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, we win and enter the Eastern Conference Finals if Mitchell Robinson is healthy. If Mitchell Robinson does not go down in that series against the 76ers and he's fully healthy against Indiana, we win that series. Like, I
Yep.
truly believe that. Regardless of Tom Thibodeau's like poor coaching against Carlisle, I think Mitchell Robinson is that X factor and we go into the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Mike Brown, Mitchell Robinson's manager, and the coaching staff and health staff realize that. Like, when you look at how many injuries he's had, how much weight he's put on muscle-wise, if you play him for an extensive amount of games in the regular season, there is a likely possibility that he is not going to be effective and available in the postseason. They made the wisest decision to play Mitch when they needed him and spread it out as much as possible. But the wisest thing was to make sure that those two knew how they could work together before the playoffs came. And that's what I liked. That's what I liked about it. Is Mike Brown ideal coach of choice? No. But here's the thing. When most teams get a coach that comes in, that coach is given the opportunity to help assemble a team that fits exactly what they think the vision of this organization is. Okay. You see so many teams that bring on a new head coach and then they make the changes that need to be made. And that coach can figure out which player needs to be the star, this player that needs to do this player that needs to do that. Mike Brown was brought on after all of our offseason acquisitions. Mike Brown had no say in what this roster was like. And he was still able to take us to the most winningest season that the New York Knicks have had from a coach in their first season. So let's move on to point number 2 of why you hated Tom Thibodeau.
ISO offense, meaning not incorporating OG and Mikal and giving them enough touches. It was a lot of ISO ball, top of the key. What you were talking about earlier with JB dribbling the air out of the ball was our offense last year. So I really dislike that about Tom Thibodeau.
And if you look at this, we've strayed away from the ISO because Mike Brown wanted ISO to only be to then spray it out to somebody else. And so the games that we actually followed Mike Brown's offensive plan are the games that we typically won. The games where we went and we reverted back and Jalen Brunson went back to his old ways or Cat went back to his old ways is when we lost. If you look at OG Anunoby has taken leaps and bounds as an offensive player this year. Why? Because things have been catered to get your players involved. Mike Brown's whole thing has not been star basketball. Mike Brown's whole thing has been, hey, I'm willing to call out my stars when they're not playing well, as opposed to Tom Thibodeau, who catered to Julius Randle. He catered to Jalen Brunson. He catered to Karl Anthony Towns. Why? Because he babied them, and he wanted his stars to be the number one person on their team, and everybody else was to be the backup singers for the Pips. But no, that's not what he wanted. Jalen Brunson and all those guys have been called to a new level of actually playing team basketball, which if you look, our numbers are way better and our assists are way better. Jalen Brunson never had 13 to 14 assists per game last season. Never under Tom Thibodeau. He's had multiple games where he's been double-digit assists this year. Why? Because Mike Brown pulled away from the you are the star, so you should be the sole focus of our offense type of offensive schemes. And why? Because Mike Brown actually had offensive schemes as opposed to Tom Thibodeau, who always said, well, I want to just let the game come to you. The game will speak to you. And whatever happens, happens because the game will speak to you. I'm like, no, that's not basketball coaching offensively. So
It's babysitting.
exactly. That's babysitting and catering to your number one because you don't want to get fired, so you want to appease them. So at the end of the day, Mike Brown has completely changed our offensive schemes to actually make us have an offense. Last year, we had no offense. We had ISO. And if we would have brought that same offense into the playoffs this year, you would be saying Hawks in 5 because they would shut Jalen Brunson down every single game with their bigs and their defense. So you got to give Mike
Absolutely. And I'll also say, like, I'm one of the biggest Julius Randle haters of all time, too. So I absolutely would be saying if we had Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau, I would definitely be saying Hawks in 5. But yeah, this is a way better team and we are way more talented. And so I agree. Look, Mike Brown did not get to select his roster, but he has a really good roster. Like this is a way better roster than what Atlanta has. And I think he achieved what the Knicks were expecting to achieve this year. And so I give Tom Thibodeau props for that. And I also think those are the two things I hated on Tibbs. The third one I would say is predictability. Like I think we all knew what every offensive set, inbound play, and like drop coverage on defense looked like. And so I hope that because in a 7-game series, coaching really matters and being able to switch up game plans and make adjustments, I think is all the difference. So I think Tibbs did a not very impressive job of that when he was our head coach. And my hope is Mike Brown brings that variability into his approach to this upcoming playoff series.
Well, what I'll say about that, to push on that, is Mike Brown has showed the diversity of lineups times 10 what Tom Thibodeau would have done. You had roster lineups that made you scratch your head at first and then go, how did that work? Like, what? How did that work? Why did it work? Because we tried it. You don't know if it's going to work until you try it. You have games like that last one of those last ones where Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson are both on the floor together, which Tom Thibodeau wouldn't have done because Jordan Clarkson was a liability, wouldn't have had it out with another point guard that's a liability or whatever defensively. He wouldn't have given Jordan Clarkson the time to develop into a decent defensive player. And you have Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson looking at each other, creating an inbound play that actually helps us get to the victory that we needed. So you have lineups that you never would have seen with Tom Thibodeau. You have guys like Tyler Kolek who rise to the occasion and gave us an 8-game win stretch that we needed to stay in contention to where we were. You had lineups where you were like, why does that work? You have lineups where Tom Thibodeau would have never sat one of his main guys because of a pride issue, but yet Mike Brown was willing to sit Mikal Bridges because Mikal Bridges was nothing but booty for a certain amount of time. And he made sure that Jordan Clarkson got those minutes because Jordan Clarkson was shining.
So Phil, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you confident in Mike Brown's bench rotations? Like going into the playoffs, it feels like, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, obviously Mitch Robinson, our 6th man, if not starting. And then it goes Shamet, Deuce, and Jordan Clarkson, I guess. Like that's kind of like, say we go 9 deep, that's what it looks like. Are you happy with, given everything you said about what we've tested during the regular season, that is that what you think Mike Brown's rolling with? And are you happy with that being our 8 to 9 man rotation?
Yes, I think we have the strongest bench in the league. Straight up. I think we have the most talent on our bench.
I think like the whole conversation about Tibbs versus Mike Brown is losing a whole dynamic. Tibbs was a one-man band show. Mike Brown is not. Like, he has other coaches that he actually listens to and takes inputs from.
Yep.
He actually has a guy on the staff that is amongst the top head coach candidates for next year as first time head coach candidates. Chris Gent, first time head coach candidate, and he's one of the top ones. And so he has competent people there that he can turn to. Like, Rob, maybe he's not the smartest guy, maybe he's not the best guy, right? Maybe you're right. But he has pivoted to those guys. He's turned to those guys. I've seen huddles where those guys are running the huddle with the clipboard. And so that brings me a little bit more ease in the fact that, bro, like, if you're starting a company, it can't just be you. We were just talking about this earlier, Phil. Like, it can't just be you as the CEO, the CFO doing everything. Like, you're the COO, you're the marketing guy. Like, you can't be the one doing everything. And that's
You
what
can't wear
Thibodeau
all the
is doing.
hats.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so
Exactly.
at least we know that Mike Brown has some real competent people next to him, and never mind Rick Brunson, but he has some real competent people outside of Rick Brunson.
Sorry, so who are the competent people next to him? Say it again.
Not Rick Brunson, and not
Not
Mo
Mo
Cheeks.
Cheeks.
Yeah, I don't really rock with Mo Cheeks, but there's Chris Gent, who's the offensive guy, and then I forget the name of the defensive guy, but he has a defensive guy too.
Look, you might be right, and my coaching knowledge.
Darren Edmond or Mike Bryant?
No, Edmond.
Edmond, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When I look at our roster, okay, and I look at the different possibilities that we have, I feel like Mike Brown is willing to explore those throughout the season to see what works. And that's when you want to explore. You want to see what works and what doesn't work. And we under a lot of coaches like Tom Thibodeau, you wouldn't know the possibilities of that. So let's say, God forbid, one of our guys get injured. Now you're trying to figure out if we have anybody that is competent enough to help us fill that gap. We know what guys can fill that gap and what can't now, because Mike Brown has been willing to test those guys. And like Al has said, a true leader is not a guy who rules with an iron fist and is the guy who makes every single decision. That is not a true leader. A true leader is a guy that comes down and says, hey, I know my strengths. I also know where I've fallen short before.
Yeah.
I know the series that I've lost before, and it was because of incapabilities to figure out this offensively or this defensively. So I'm going to bring the best people around me and make sure that when I don't have the right answer, that they do. That is a true leader. It's not
by the end of this playoff run, Rye's going to be a Mike Brown fan.
I believe so.
We're going to turn him.
I believe so. I truly believe that Mike Brown is going to take it further this year than Tom Thibodeau for sure would have taken us. And I feel like he has overcome a lot of obstacles. And the fact that he's been able to pull certain things out of certain people, you can't look at this season and not say, oh my goodness, Cat was the most defensive liability as a big man in the start of the season. And now go at the end of the season, how is Cat not fouling every single play defensively? How is Cat making an impact defensively and not give the coach credit? Because Cat didn't just wake up one day and go, oh, I think I'm going to be a good defender today. Like, that didn't happen. Like, that takes coaching. Whether it was Mike Brown or his staff, it's his staff. He's the one that brought them in because he knew that they could make that difference. So that alone is leaps and bounds. You look at JB and you look at Karl Anthony Towns, both of them are significantly better defenders than they were when they started the season. And that is huge. Same thing with Jordan Clarkson. So if you want to nitpick the small things, you also have to celebrate the things that you might overlook. Like, there are many things that he's brought out of players that make us a title contending team.
Can we do one quick thing, round table, before we all go? And we should probably start with Joe and the infamous. Who is your X factor for the playoffs?
All right, I'll go with you first, infamous.
X factor is without a doubt Mitchell Robinson.
Damn, that's mine.
Yeah, it's what Mitchell Robinson does. His presence alone just is a nightmare for any opposition team.
He's a game wrecker. He's like a defensive end, game wrecker, sacking the quarterback.
I mean, he was what Darrell Revis used to be for the Jets a long time ago.
Yes.
You just don't want the ball to come anywhere within 5 feet of him because you know it's going to him. He's a magnet for offensive rebounds. I think that second chance points is going to be the tail of the tape. It's going to be the deciding factor, and just pure talent. That's why I'm going to stick to it. Knicks in 5, and it's going to be because of Mitchell Robinson.
Okay,
I'm with you.
All
You
right.
don't even got to go to me. He gave my answer.
All right, Rob, what do you think? Hey, and are you asking about this series or playoffs in general?
Just like playoffs in general, who is our X factor?
All right, what do you think, Ra?
Did we lose you?
He's on mute.
Joe,
He's on mute.
Are you on mute?
What do you think, Joe?
All right, go ahead, Joe.
For X Factor, well, let me just, I wanted to add something in for the last thing you guys were saying. So let me
Go ahead.
I have the Knicks, the best win of the season was when they played the Denver Nuggets, and they won 142 to 103. If you look at our plus minuses for our whole team, we're all like double positive, like every single player. And just to kind of go off of what you were saying, Phil, Mike Brown, he was so willing to play like over 9 guys off the bench. Like he had Jeremy Sohan, Dadier, Diawara, Robinson, Huck Forty, Clarkson, Shamet, Alvarado, Kolick, and McCullough come off the bench. And they all went in a double positive. Like, I just don't ever see Tibbs doing something like this. And this is such a lopsided win against a team that's supposed to be good, like a top 3 team, the Denver Nuggets. Like they're supposed to be like, they're supposed to bring a fight, and we beat them by like 40 points. You know what I'm saying? So I think that win was the best win of the season. I think it's very eye-opening, and it shows how Mike Brown can win basketball games in multiple ways. And another thing that I wanted to point out about this win was Jalen Brunson went 3 for 13 and only had 9 points.
Yep.
So, I think Mike Brown knows that he can win basketball games in multiple ways. He has different weapons that he can use at his disposal. And I think a lot of the things that we haven't seen in the regular season and we're now starting to see here at the end of the season it's just how he's been coaching. I do think he's been saving Cat and Jalen Brunson pick and roll as a secret weapon. And I think there's other things he's going to pull out in the playoffs, like the double big lineup. There's a narrative going around right now that the double big lineup isn't very good, and really we should only use it off the bench. But I have no problem starting it. I want Mitchell Robinson in the game as long as he can without, obviously him getting hurt or anything. But I think Mitchell Robinson brings such an impact to the game. There's no reason not to start him.
Reason not to start him because if you do that, you have to factor in
that you hit me with. What was the question again? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off the rails.
The question was, who's your X factor?
All right, okay, boom. Okay, so my X factor for this Hawk series is OG Anunoby. I think OG Anunoby is going to have some crazy games for us. And I think he's going to be in at least 3 games. Is going to be one of our top scorers, and I can see him dropping 30 bombs and being, that difference.
He does that, we're in good shape, yo. I swear.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what else too? Like when you sprinkle in a little bit of Josh Hart being left out open because the coach can't defend everybody, and you mix in a little bit of what Mitchell Robinson do on the boards, plus JB, and man, I don't see this Hawks team messing with us at all, man. And especially with our bench, like Clarkson, Deuce, and Shamet. Like Shamet had a 40-point game this year. Like he went off too.
Word.
So. And that was before he even got hurt. But man, we got some weapons on our squad, and I don't see the Hawks have as many weapons as we got.
Shout out to Shamet. Seriously, one of my favorite bench players of all time. Like straight up, Shamet is a straight up G. The only thing I'd say about your take, Joe, is I don't want to start the starting big off the back.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair.
Let's test it out and see how we do against the Hawks without that starting big, because I think it's more so important that we end with the starting big lineup than
Yeah, I agree.
starting big lineup, because
But remember,
look,
like,
when you
yeah,
look
go
at
ahead, go ahead.
Mitch, as much as I love Mitch, he's not going to give us a ton offensively. And we already start off slow offensively as the Knicks. We don't want to
True.
start off even slower offensively. So bring in Mitch to stop them, to stop the bleeding, and then stop any chance of them getting ahead in the fourth quarter to run away with it. But try to get as much of a lead from the get-go as possible. So that's the only pushback on why I wouldn't start it in this series specifically, because I feel like it's going to be more clutch for him to have fresh legs, to be able to block, jump out at the person at the three, switch off in the later quarters. So I'll let Ra go before I go, and then we'll call it a night.
Awesome. So, just clarification point: is it X factor for the Hawks or X factor for the playoffs?
Series for the whole playoffs.
For the whole playoffs, I am going to go with Al's. I think one of his favorite players, Mikal Bridges. I
Hey,
I'm going with the man himself, Mikal Bridges, because everyone forgets we
That's a good
beat
one.
the Celtics last year because Mikal Bridges was excellent.
Yep.
And we need Mikal Bridges to be the best fourth option we've ever seen in our lives to get us to where we want to go. And he's capable of it.
I agree.
And I think that, the 1, 2, 3, and, Phil, we talked about this, and, any which way you slice it, like maybe Mikel's a third option, maybe OG's a third option. But if both those guys are humming, we
It's
are
gonna
we are on a different planet.
Facts.
And I think if we can get Mikel playing the way he's capable of playing, cutting, touching the ball, because if he's engaged offensively as is OG, their defense just picks up to a different level, and that is the team we want if we're going to maximize our potential. So, Mikal Bridges, he's my guy. I'm giving him that love. 5 picks, bro. We forgive you. Like, let's get it this playoffs.
All right, so
Fuck
let me
them
give,
picks.
Yeah.
let,
Fuck 'em.
let me chime in before we end. Unlike Ra, I don't forgive him, and I do I will forgive him depending on the playoffs. If Mikal shows up in the playoffs, forgiven. If Mikal doesn't show in the playoffs, I will fly back to New York myself, pack his bags, drop him off at Newark Airport, because it's cheaper there and he's not worth the rest of the money to fly out of JFK. All right. So here's the thing. Even though I don't forgive him yet, he is my X factor as well.
Whoa, the plot thickens. Wow, you and
He is
Rod.
my X factor as well.
What up, Phil?
The reason he's my X factor is if you look at the East and the teams we're most likely going to play, the Hawks, height. We need height to score against the Hawks. They're going to try to lock down Jalen Brunson. We need Mikal Bridges to not only be we signed him to be a two-way player. These are teams that we actually need two-way players. Like the Hawks are a team where we need two-way players. We need his height defensively. We need his defensive skills defensively. But if they lock down Jalen Brunson, we need him to be confident enough to take the mid-range shot. We need him to be confident enough to take some physical like bumps, which he typically doesn't. And we need him to be able to shoot the three with confidence because they're going to target him. And if he is our fourth option and they try to double team Jalen and then try to double team Cat and then try to stop OG, Mikal is free. Like he needs to be able to shoot it. He needs to be able to help us offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
Then, bar a miracle, we're going to see Boston Celtics in the second round. And in the second round, Boston Celtics has a team that can score from 1 to 8. So we need a defensive player that can stop them. We need a player that is good enough and long enough to stop them. But if they're putting up nonstop buckets, we need to be able to put up nonstop buckets too. And there's going to be in a 7-game series, which with Boston, it could go 7, where Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are going to have off nights. We need Mikal Bridges to step up offensively. Like, we need that. So, and then you go to the Pistons. They are a physical and tall team. They lock down Jalen Brunson very, very well. This is a freaking series that Mikal Bridges needs to step up because those guys, they can score. You have Cade Cunningham. Obviously, he's a beast. But then Jalen Duren in the last part of the season went from averaging 16 points a game to getting 26 points a game. So now you have him as an offensive threat. You have freaking Thompson, who's been playing incredible. You got Duncan Robinson, who can unload the clip from 3. You got Tobias Harris, that has been playing great basketball. You got Jenkins, who's been playing great basketball. You need defensive stops against them. But you also need, they are a team that has made life hell for Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has struggled against the Pistons. And so if he's your number 4 option and he's the mid-range king of the New York Knicks, we need to see him putting up buckets. So to me, to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then to the championship, Mikal Bridges showing up is the X factor. Because Jalen Brunson, though he's had some really crappy nights throughout the season, more so this year than last year, he's still pretty consistent. Like, you know what you're going to get out of Jalen Brunson. You know, in a 7-game series, you can probably guess that in 5 or 6 games, he's going to show up. Karl Anthony Towns has found a way to show up in the second half of the season. OG Anunoby has actually went from, I don't know if he's going to show up, to holy crap, I didn't know OG had this in his arsenal. So Mikal Bridges is the one that we really need to show up in the playoffs, in my opinion, to get us to the finals. I think Mikal Bridges is that X factor. And if he's that X factor, he will be someone that continues to be a New York Knick. If he falls and fails, I say we pack him up and he goes. So he's either the X factor or he's the reason we lost, and then he goes. That's my
So
All
either
solid answers, man.
either he's the guy that we win, or the guy we packaged for Giannis next year. Is basically what you're saying.
Yep.
Damn.
Exactly.
Word.
Exactly. He's either
All solid answers, man.
the guy that puts his name in like the, okay, you don't have to show up in the regular season. You show up in the playoffs all the time. We're going to continue to sign you. Or why are you still here? Like, you should have known to pack your own stuff. That's what it's going to come down to at the end. But we'll see. We'll be back next week. The next 2 weeks, we will be on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. because we have games on Thursday. The schedule has been released both this week coming up and the week after. We have games on Thursday. So this week, we'll be chopping it up with Peerless Bourbon. I'm really excited about that. Do us a favor. Make sure to support Mr. Knickerbocker Ave right down there. Support and follow my guy Joe from AC. Support and follow Al from Harlem. Ra right there, Nick Life Crisis. And congratulations to Ra. He is the newest member of the KOT family. Here, bro. Like,
Thank you guys so much. I
Honored.
really, really appreciate it. It's an
And
absolute
honestly-
honor, and it's been so great getting to chat it up with you guys tonight. Thank you.
Honestly, it's been a blessing to kind of be like, you know, big bro, kind of give you a little nuggie about some things in the first episode. Like, I love that. I love that we had this fun
Absolutely.
episode.
Hey, yo,
And then
Phil.
y'all agreed on the last point.
Yes.
Yo, Phil, you mind if I ask you one thing before we get going?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, man, I mean, I wanted to bring this up at the end. The infamous brought up Giannis. And I kind of want to have a little objective take about this because you know what?
Oh, God.
Over the years, we have been the fan base that said, oh, we're just kind of going after the shiny new thing. You know, do we really think that Giannis is the new shiny thing that we should go consider trading all of our picks and all of our pieces for. Just food for thought, because I don't even really know how I feel about it. Because before I was thinking maybe, but now I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. We got to see how we perform in the playoffs this year, like you
That's
said.
what
Like,
I was gonna say.
if Mikal Bridges doesn't show up, like,
gotta be later.
you know, but I really want to keep this topic in the forefront because, like, you know,
Can I just say the one crazy thing with the playing going on, watching the Thunder get the Clippers draft pick this offseason really has me questioning like how many more picks we want to keep leveraging for the future, because 2032 and 2034 are a long ways away. And Giannis is getting older, and I
and he's
agree with
getting
you. Like,
hurt
I
more
feel like,
every year.
are we late to the party?
I don't know, man. I'm a little skeptical.
I'm not a fan of that either, but it is what it is. I know that that's not something that I don't personally want this. I've been saying this for years. I never want Giannis on our team. However, I know how New York media is. We all know how they are. We all know how the talking heads on the big networks always talk, and you know how there's going to be a lot of pressure. So if the Knicks do not make the NBA Finals, there's going to be heads that are going to roll, and Leon Rose is, I'm sorry, but his job is on the line. If the Knicks don't make the NBA Finals, both him and Mike Brown might be unemployed, and you have to trust that whoever is in charge remembers they have to re-sign Mitchell Robinson because he's a free agent at the end of the year, and knows that you have to make a move because if this JB thing doesn't work, if it doesn't work in the playoffs, say all we're talking about is like, we're going to see the same old thing and we're bounced out in the first or second round. That's going to be the topic of conversation throughout the entire offseason. When is Giannis coming?
Here's where I'll push back a little bit on those takes. The Knicks have been known to go after the shiny thing all the time.
I never get it.
Never get it. And I think that if we did that this offseason or by the trade deadline, that would have been the Knicks doing that. Okay? But this shows growth that we didn't. We didn't make that trade. We didn't go all in on it. Like, if you look at the Carmelo Anthony trade, the issue wasn't that we went for Carmelo Anthony. It's that we weren't patient to get Carmelo Anthony. If we would have just been patient and waited till the offseason, he would have been a free agent. We would have gotten Carmelo Anthony to come. Yes, that next year he was out of his contract.
Right, but remember, if you remember that, there was that 3-year, $65 million contract extension that he was wanting to sign. And had the Knicks not offered that and make the trade, then he would have ended up in Brooklyn.
No, I don't think so.
He specifically said that as well, and that was a known fact at that time.
Okay, well, regardless, the reason that the Carmelo Anthony thing didn't work was because we robbed ourselves to get Carmelo. Oh, yeah. Like, at the end of the day, we gave up everything and said, hey, we don't need role players. We don't need a second option. Let's just get this one guy and be relevant. And that didn't work. So, for me, the Giannis thing is different because if we wait till this offseason, all of this stuff that has happened with Giannis and the Bucks has played in our favor. Has played in our favor completely. Giannis coming out in the media and saying, how the heck is this team telling me I can't play? I'm healthy and the season still has this many weeks in it, and you're telling me that we're not playing? Like, Giannis hates being in Milwaukee right now. That's in our benefit. So right now, we can play out this season and see how it goes. If it goes well, cool. Make minor changes, bring in players that we need to contend against next year, and keep moving. If we don't get to the place that we want to go, now the Bucks have less of an upper hand because Giannis doesn't want to be there. Like, he has no desire to be.
We have all the leverage at the end of the day.
We have all the leverage now. So
we shouldn't be giving up anybody. No JB, you know what I mean? It should just be like,
we don't have to give up Cat or JB anymore. We just have to match salaries now. Yeah. So this can be Giannis wants out. He does not want to step foot on a Milwaukee Buck court in a Milwaukee Buck jersey, and we've said all the stupid things in the media that has caused even more of a rift between us and our player. So either we allow this whole season to go and we forfeit the whole season and then let him go for free in the offseason, or we try to find some kind of trade so that it's not a complete dumpster fire. And so this doesn't work for us. We can package Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart salary-wise for a Giannis Thanasis kind of trade. Thanasis comes, he can.
Yeah, I wanted Portis, but yeah, that's
Well, yeah, that's not going to happen. So
Yeah, but Milwaukee's not gonna do it.
you bring him and Thanasis. Thanasis brings his pom-poms, hangs out on the court in his street clothes, and it's fine. And now you have Giannis paired with Cat and JB. That's a big difference. So to me, we didn't make the move this year, which was wise. Let's see how it goes in the playoffs.
And he's so
before we make any
expensive,
decision.
dude. He's like 50 million dollars a year. It's like, how are we going to pay?
56.7.
How are we going to pay all
56.7.
these guys? Like, how are we going to pay Cat and Brunson and Giannis, like, and Mitch? Like, how someone's not playing on our team next year? You know what I mean?
So it definitely comes down to some questions. But anyway, boys, I got to get to bed. Got kids early in the morning. I appreciate you guys.
Salute.
Thank you guys so much. If you guys joined us, please subscribe, hit that like button, like these guys, subscribe what they're doing. And until next time, God bless and let's go Knicks. Deuces.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now.